Tipp today, in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning, welcome along to Tipp Today, 1800 938 007. That's our free phone number. It won't cost you if you'd like to make a call to us, and Leanne is producing as always. Coming up on the show this morning, I'll be speaking to Councillor Richie Molloy of Family Cares Ireland in just a few moments' time. Hazel Behan, co-founder of Eist, will discuss the controversial disclosure of counselling notes in sexual violence trials. The Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign has voiced its disappointment at the FAI's decision to proceed with the upcoming fixture against Israel. Deputy Mattie McGrath will join us after 10. Crime Prevention Officer Sergeant John McCormack will be with us to bring us up to date on crime around the county. We have our regular Wellbeing slot with Muriel Cuddy, and we'll also continue that discussion on women being churched. So all of that and much, much more on the way. You can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tippfm.com. Now, lovely competition for you as well, because our great friends at Slattery's of Nina, they're celebrating a remarkable 80 years in business, and to mark this milestone, they've teamed up with us here on Tipp Today to give away a €50 voucher every morning this week. Now, whether you're a long-time customer or looking to discover all that Slattery's has to offer, this is your chance to treat yourself, courtesy of one of the county's most trusted and well-loved businesses. So to be in with a chance of winning, all you have to do is text or WhatsApp the word Slattery's to 083 311 3311, followed by your name and your details, and we will choose a winner a little later on in the programme. Let's have a look at the front pages of some of your newspapers. The Irish Daily Mail, the lead story there, the mother of a young girl who suffered life-changing injuries when she was stabbed in Parnell Square in Dublin, has said that her daughter can now only communicate by blinking. And the woman told the Central Criminal Court that her daughter, then a 5-year-old junior infant, had suffered major blood loss from a stab wound to the heart and is now in a wheelchair. Very unfortunate story indeed. The Irish Independent, and it is dominated by a photograph from Belfast last night. One of workers boarding up windows of a burnt out house on McMaster Street in Belfast, following more disturbance there. The main story on the Indo, hospital consultants who signed up to public only work contracts worth over €300,000 were not subject to proper tracking on the phasing out of fee-paying private practice, a HSE audit has revealed. The Irish Times, and once again dominated by a photograph from Belfast, and the lead story there telling us that water cannon was deployed by the Police Service of Northern Ireland yesterday to maintain public order during a second night of anti-immigration rioting in Belfast. And again, that story of the little girl who was stabbed on Parnell Street in Dublin is on the front page of the Times. Also an interesting one, rather worrying one indeed. Irish children became less accomplished in reading and mathematics after COVID-19 pandemic, with children from poorer backgrounds falling further behind their better off peers. And finally, a look at the Irish Examiner, and they're leading with the story that Housing Minister James Browne has conceded the homelessness crisis will be a challenge over the next couple of years, and that he cannot say when numbers will start to fall. And also on the Examiner today, we're reading that a former soldier broke down in tears after giving harrowing evidence to the Defence Forces Tribunal of being gang raped by soldiers when she was just 19. So let's look at what's making headlines on some of your newspapers today. If you'd like to comment on any of that, once again, the text and WhatsApp is 083 311 3311. Now, a new report has shown that family carers continue to face significant financial pressure, inadequate access to services, poor health and well-being, and indeed experience loneliness. The State of Caring 2026 report was commissioned by the charity Family Carers Ireland, which supports an estimated 624,000 family carers right across the country. And Councillor Richie Molloy is Carer Support Manager with Family Carers Ireland in Tipperary. He joins me now. Good morning to you, Richie.
Good morning to your friend and your listeners.
And good to talk to you today. Some of what emerged from that report is very worrying indeed, isn't it?
It is. It makes very stark reading, Fran, and it's not something I suppose that you and I probably haven't discussed over the years. The pressures family carers are under all the time. But I think because of the energy crisis in the last couple of months, we're getting more and more calls from carers expressing that they just can't cope. And I suppose a report like this is the fourth one of these reports that we've commissioned over the last couple of years. It probably gives you some kind of real statistics to show to government, exactly what's happening on the ground. And the big one really is that I suppose health and well-being, have shown... their health and well-being of carers is deteriorating the whole time round. I mean, you take it, the people that qualify for the carers allowance, that's €270 a week, is well under. Do you remember the COVID payment of $350? Yeah. And I suppose the big issue I find with carers lately is that while the government is kind of trumping about the means test will eventually be phased out, but I suppose it's important to remember that will do nothing for the current carer, carer that's on the 270. That will mean nothing to them really. And we're obviously the budget is coming up there now, and we'll be kind of preparing our pre-budget submission. But we're trying to use this report then to show the government that coming along at budget time with an extra €10 does nothing for you. It's the only payment in the social welfare system that you have to actually work for. Anyone getting the carers allowance is definitely a 24/7 carer. But when you look at the report there, and just to say to listeners, if they want to see this report, it's on the Family Carers Ireland website.
Yeah, and some of those stats you're referencing there, 71% finding it difficult to make ends meet. 49% said they're cutting back on essentials such as food and heating. Now, I find that particularly worrying.
And all of these are little statements from carers and there was roughly almost 3,000 carers took part in this particular survey, so it was really representative of what's there. Another one then is how lonely it is to be a carer, that you kind of drop out of everyday living. And I suppose one we have to always remember too is there's thousands of carers out there on what they call the half-rate carers allowance. So these are people that will be on another social welfare payment, so they'll only get half the allowance. In the budgets normally over the last couple, they only get an extra £5, but they still have all the costs associated with carers. You can also see, in the report that people kind of express how difficult it is. Transport will be a big one now, especially for Tipperary.
Sure.
You have your travel pass, but there's really a little use to you because mostly you're going to have a car to make hospital appointments and so on. Like here's one there. We live in rural Ireland and the nearest bus service is almost 5 miles away. I mean, we can all identify with that. If you're living in a rural area, very hard to get services. The whole home help thing is literally falling apart really, because people are getting approval for 30 to 45 minutes, but on the bottom of the letter it'll normally say, but unfortunately we've no staff in the area, so we're awaiting staff recruitment. So you have lots of, we had a case there lately now of a carer whose brother had passed away, and he wanted obviously to attend his brother's funeral, but he was minding his mother full time. So in Family Carers Ireland, we have a small fund that we were able to pay for one of the agencies to provide the cover for him. But without that, the health board really wouldn't have been able to do that in that scenario. So can you imagine, when say missing your brother's funeral because you're the family carer, but you are really that tied to it. It's really is 24/7 and not a lot of supports, practical supports anyway.
What came up during the week as well was equipment, for instance, and difficulty accessing equipment.
Yeah, big. Years ago, we'd say with the public health nurses and that, it was easy enough maybe to get the commodes would be one thing, the wheelchairs and all that. But in the last 2 or 3 years, I generally advise carers, if they can at all, to try and purchase, we'd say a wheelchair privately from one of the companies that sell them, because if they were to wait for the health board, months would go by really, and then you're totally caught, because sometimes if you're bringing a person, for an appointment in Waterford, for example, a wheelchair is an invaluable too. Then the person may have some mobility, but they won't be able to.
But if you make that purchase privately, can you get that money back?
Unfortunately, you can't. You can't. No, you like if you make it do it privately, and you have to think all the time. Then, if you're on the carers allowance, that's $270 a week. You won't do much out of that. Any kind of what's coming across very strongly, I think, in this report is that most carers at the end of any week are down to their last couple of cents. So any unexpected costs, maybe the car gets damaged or you need to service the car, straight away then you're in the red.
Of course, yeah.
And you're trying to look for loans and so
And
on.
again, it's something we'll have discussed many, many times, but again, it came up this week a couple of times, Richie, that, telling carers that they're great and wonderful and angelic and stuff is all fine and very well. But I mean, show me the resources. Really.
That's the bottom line, you see. And I know a lot of carers did refer to the annual grant that came out there last week. And while it sounds great to get the €2,000 and so on once a year in every June, if you're in receipt of the carers allowance, you'll get this grant automatically. But the bottom line for that is most carers will tell you that they're literally either paying outstanding bills or they're getting a fill of heating oil. So it has gone literally within the 1 week. So that can often be a spin, I sometimes think, by government to say we are. There has been some improvements over the years. I suppose it's important to say that. But by and large, the waiting lists are a hell of a lot longer than they were a couple of years ago. And one of the big ones there said that over 55% of carers have had to pay for services that should really have been provided. You have people talking about the assessment of needs. And even if you get the assessment of need, if you can't get the services afterwards, the assessment isn't much use to you. But that list is growing and growing all the time, so that's something.
And the other thing that came up in several conversations this week again is the same thing in parallel to the caring. The battle is a daily one,
and it's exhausting for carers. And I suppose that's the role we play, say in Family Carers Ireland. Lots of carers get turned down, we'll say, for the carers allowance. So we provide a service, then we'll advocate for you, provide letters of support, maybe go with you to the oral hearing, because it is hard for a carer. Sometimes they'll say you can go for an appeal, but some people say, what does that mean? Does it mean I'm going to the High Court? So you're meeting an inspector from the department. So normally one of our staff would accompany the carer to the appeal, because at least you feel there's someone there fighting your side. But it's not. No, I mean, I'm always saying this: nobody would set out to be the family carer. It's just something. Someone gets sick, belong to you. Someone's in an accident overnight. You're the carer, and then where do you go for help after that?
Yeah, I spoke to Michael Power during the week, as you know Michael very well, right. And his lovely wife Maggie as well, and they lost their son Alex last year, and he had profound special needs, and they cared for him so well for 14 years. He was critical, however, Richie, of Family Carers Ireland as being an NGO, because he received government funding, maybe a little bit too close, maybe a little bit too cosy with the government. How do you answer that?
And my sympathies again to both Maggie and Michael. I mean, they took such wonderful care of Alex, and indeed I would have been out in the house once or twice, and you could see that the love that they had for Alex, and it's not an easy time now that he's passed on. But from my experience, I mean, I'm 26 years, I suppose, with Family Carers Ireland, and I'd say I accept we do get government funding and that, but it doesn't stop us being the voice, because I'm very passionate about it. I mean, in all the years that I'm at it, we've lobbied, and any government money we're getting in is going out again to carers. I mean, some of the core funding would help, pay for the office, we'll say, here in South Tipperary and the different offices that they have around the country. So, but at the same time, like reports like this, I mean, we do continue to kind of lobby the government and fight the government as much as you can do. So I wouldn't accept. I really wouldn't accept.
And I suppose what carers, some carers indeed, like Michael, might look at what Family Carers Ireland are doing and say, look, I hear Richie talking to Fran a couple of times a year about these things, and it seems like there's little movement on. Now, I know there's been some extra monies here and there, but relatively modest.
There has. I mean, I suppose if I was to look back over my time with Family Carers, and basically that the organisation would have started with a group of family carers in Dublin, formed we were called the Carers Association for many, many years, and you all said caring for carers. And then the two organisations amalgamated there, maybe I'd say just 10 years ago now they amalgamated, and then the name, both organisations felt we should really put a stress on it's the family carer that we're representing. So that's where the name Family Carers Ireland came about. But if you look back over the years, Fran, like when I started first, the support grant was €300. If your partner was working at all, you wouldn't get the carers allowance. But over all those years, and I'd say a lot of it is down to Family Carers Ireland lobbying, that grant now is €2,000 a year, and the means test is practically more or less gone, because now the partner can earn up to €1,250 a week. You know, that's a huge difference now from years ago. So the biggest problem, I suppose, to get media coverage even for Family Carers Ireland is it's like the media, generally speaking, and Tipp FM have been a great support to carers over many, many years. But it's hard to get coverage, you know, and it's hard to get carers.
Why is that?
I think it's because so many... I remember one particular protest in Dublin, people felt we should be marching on the streets. And I remember my own late mother was involved at that time now. And we went up to Kildare Street, Fran, and I think we had something like 50 carers were able to turn up. This was due now to the problem of getting to Dublin, who was minding someone at home. And I felt if I was the minister looking out the gates, I wasn't in politics then, I felt they'd almost be saying, who are these people? 50 people. And the IFA were in town the same day. And they were protesting in the afternoon, and there was combine harvesters up and down Kildare Street. You know, very powerful now. It was very obvious that they were in town. And carers, it's always been difficult, even to this day.
Well, the nature of caring is how do you get time
And the
away?
numbers are increasing. Now there's over 600,000 carers, and those figures are genuine. They're got from the last census. But you're not going to be able to get the 600,000. You won't be able to get 1,000 to go on march.
And what are you saying, that if you did, that would help with your lobbying? Is that?
I think it would. I think sometimes when...
But are you concerned that there's a need now, that carers feel a need to have a new voluntary group, which is Care Champions, and we spoke to a representative, Angela, from them on the programme yesterday. Is that worrying for you? Does that say that maybe carers haven't the same belief in Family Carers Ireland?
I wouldn't agree with that, Fran, now, because even take this week is National Carers Week now, and we've had a number of events. And just to say again, to carers that will be listening this morning, that all those events, we have an events calendar on the website, and that tells you all the various events that go on, not just in Tipperary now, but around the country. Often now, and I had spoken to the people in Care Champions, and they're a new group, as you say, that have started out. Sometimes you often wonder, are we all better working together? You know, would there be more strength in all together as such?
But obviously they feel that they would be more effective on their own than what Family Carers Ireland are doing.
I mean, because I suppose I'm in it myself for so long, and I couldn't agree, because I couldn't think we could be doing any more. We've set up a new structure now. We have this, it's called a Carers Assembly, which really gives a voice to carers. So we have 3 or 4 of those assemblies a year in every county now. And carers come to those meetings, and they actually set the policies and what we're going to, just for example, for that pre-budget submission, it's the carers in our organisation that actually decide which issues are the most important. Like this year we have 8 pillars, and they're taking them in that 9 pillars of what are carers saying on the ground. And number one all the time, believe it or not, is the means test, because I think it's the notion of it being means tested annoys carers. So that has always been the top one that should be abolished. And I think government are finally taking note of that, because they're promising anyway in the lifetime of this government.
So you're not concerned that a new group or new groups might chip away at the effectiveness or the credibility, indeed, of Family Carers?
I don't think so, because our membership is quite strong, Fran, and we've built it up a lot over the... And it takes a lot of effort to keep an organisation going. We've a lot of volunteers involved. And I suppose just to say this morning, Fran, we're out at the Lidl stores. Lidl have picked us as their charity of the year. And that, again...
This is your gold campaign, isn't it?
It's our Heart to Gold campaign. And getting funding from these kind of campaigns gives what we call unrestricted funding, that maybe we could help people out with maybe a heating, someone that might be in trouble with an energy bill. We then have funding that's unrestricted, that we can do that. So I'd say to people that might be downtown this morning that to keep an eye out for both the staff and the volunteers are in the two Lidl stores here in Clonmel, and they're lovely looking pins, and it creates awareness as well of who are carers and what are they doing for us.
All right, well, thanks for coming in to us today, and we wish you well with that. So that's right throughout the day, I believe.
That's right throughout the day from 9 this morning.
Is that across the county in Lidl stores?
No, in Tipperary we're only actually covering the stores here in Clonmel, Queen Street and Davis Road, but in other counties now, Cork we'll say, and so on, they'd be covering a lot more, because it's like, again, you're relying on volunteers to help you out, and it's hard to cover. We'd say there's a lot of stores here in Tipperary, so we're mainly concentrating on the Clonmel ones for this year anyway. All
right, Richie, good to see you today, and thanks for coming in to us. Thank you. Good morning to you. Councillor Richie Molloy with us of Family Carers Ireland. We'll take a break, back in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Hook On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Hook On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Well, last night the Dáil debated the criminal law, civil law and offence bill. Now, part of the discussion centred on whether counselling notes from people who report sexual abuse or sexual assault should be made available in court cases, and the circumstances in which a judge might allow them to be disclosed. Hazel Behan is co-founder of Eist, Saying No to Silence, and joins me now. Hazel, good morning to you.
Good morning, Fran. Thanks so much for having me on.
You're very welcome indeed, and thank you for coming on with us today. You said the Minister and the Government have once again failed survivors.
Yeah, I did, and I think they have, to be quite honest. I was at the Dáil last night. It was a late night, actually. I was home about 2 o'clock this morning, but it was such a disappointing show from the Government. Again, last night, to be honest, the Minister, the proposals that he has put forward has completely removed any sense of agency for survivors. And I personally, and I think others will agree, don't see this being any improvement whatsoever. In fact, I think it is worse than it has been before.
Do you think it's worse? Do you see any progress at all? Because my understanding of this, and it's quite complex, Hazel, is that the judge will have the deciding factor there on whether or not notes are used, but anything else, and a blanket ban would be anti-constitutional.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. I think it's firstly the judge. We'll talk about that. So, as it stands now at the moment, Fran, the victim survivor has the option to say yes or no to whether their notes are used. Now, this in essence is a token yes or no, because this can be overruled by a judge, and oftentimes is. However, there is some sense of agency there. This new proposal that's being put forward, that has now gone past the 4th stage, that will remove that sense of agency completely from survivors. And if the defence, which they will, request victim survivors' counselling notes, it will automatically go straight to a judge. With all due respect to judges who are highly trained in the legal field, they are not trained in counselling and psychotherapy. They're not trained to view therapeutic notes, and they wouldn't fully be trained in the process of trauma and what comes with that. So we don't think they're qualified enough to make decisions on what is contained in notes. And also the bottom line is that counselling notes are not evidence. There's somebody else's interpretation of another person's feelings. This person was,
and that really emerged from a particular court case, did it not, Hazel?
The interpretation of somebody else's feelings.
Yes, yeah.
No, I don't think that came from one particular court case, to be honest. I think that's just generally what therapy notes are, is a therapist's opinion of another person's feelings. that's what they're writing down, is what they think somebody else is experiencing or what they think somebody else is feeling at that time. They're not writing verbatim what the other person said. They're writing down their opinion or tracking therapeutic process. So how this is deemed as factual evidence,
Right.
is beggars belief, really.
And that interpretation could be completely at odds with the facts, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, somebody could say, Jesus, Fran, you sound great, you're in great form, and then realistically, how you're feeling can only be said by you directly,
yes.
you know. And it's all about perception too. You know, you can have a room full of people experiencing the same thing, and they will all leave and write something different. So realistically, there's nothing factual, and that's what evidence is all about. That's what evidence gathering, and that's what forensics are about. That's what the Gardaí do, and those who investigate crimes.
So, a lot of disappointment following last night's debate?
Huge disappointment. And if I'm being totally honest, Fran, I had no expectation of anything other than what happened last night before I went in. But I do know that victim survivors across the country and the general public are hugely disappointed. I think the reason being is that victims and survivors of any form of sexual violence have to encounter and come up against hurdles every day and at every step in the pursuit of justice. The system is hugely stacked against us, and it just shows really, for us anyway, and in my mind, where the government stand in support of survivors of any form of gender-based violence.
It was a very complex bill too. So, I mean, the debate was limited, to say the least, wasn't it?
It was, I spoke to a number of TDs last night, and all said that they had never in their time served, we'll say, up in the Dáil, ever seen so many issues or topics being lumped in under one bill. Yeah. It was just ridiculous. And no one thing under that bill header got enough time. There were some really, really important issues, standalone issues, including obviously the counselling notes, but there were so many other really important issues that deserved time. They were given 90 minutes to debate a bill which, from memory, had 30 headers underneath it and kept getting added to all the time because the government are trying to push, certain things through and just added things on. And none of what it contained were related to each other. In one breath, you're debating pepper spray use in prisons, and then you're debating sex for rent. It's like they're two very different things, and both important and both deserved time of their own. So I think it was grossly unfair from our perspective for counselling notes, but for each individual issue that it contained, I think it was really unfair that it didn't get the proper time in debate that they deserved each issue.
When you look to other jurisdictions, what are you seeing, Hazel? Because I know that Tipperary's Alan Kelly made the point that Canada is currently amending its laws on disclosure of records in sexual offence trials. So when you look to other jurisdictions, do you see anything more positive?
Well, now that you're talking about Canada actually implemented something very similar to what the Minister has put forward. And in very plain language, it hasn't worked. It's caused deep re-traumatisation and actually caused a lot of harm to people there, and that's been proven. So what they're trying to do, and people are trying to campaign on, is to have that changed. So that's unfortunately what we foresee here. If when the legislation is fully passed, in Tasmania, which is obviously a state in Australia, they have carried out a complete ban on the use of counselling notes unless the victim survivor chooses. And that's one thing that I would like to make clear, is that if there was a ban here, a victim survivor will always have access to their own therapy notes and choose how they would like to see them used, and do that in full knowledge and be very aware of what will happen if they do request them to be used at trial, that ultimately if the prosecution has them, the defence and the alleged perpetrator will get them too. So it's about choice and handing consent and agency back to somebody who has lost consent and agency through the acts of somebody else. So I think it's very important. But it seems to have had a hugely positive impact and effect on both victims and survivors and the legal system in general in Tasmania. So I think that in itself is a very good example of how a ban can work positively within the system,
Where do you go from here?
honestly, at this moment in time, Fran, I'm shattered. I don't know. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for us as a collective group of victims and survivors and therapists just to take a breath and digest fully what happened last night. And we've this campaign didn't start today or yesterday. It's a long time going, and we've had a lot of disappointment. So I think we all deserve a little time to catch our breath and refocus. But it's definitely not the end. We've all collectively and individually made a commitment to the public and to victims and survivors that we will continue to campaign for better, and that's what we will do. I can assure you of that, but at the moment I don't know what the next steps are.
I would guess that by far the majority of the people of Ireland would agree with your stance on this. So I'm just wondering where the government is concerned. Is it strictly down to advice from the Attorney General? Is it strictly down to legal advice, their stance on this?
Well, Minister Jim O'Callaghan is ultimately his swan song at the moment is that this is unconstitutional and that it affects the right to a fair trial. And he has, from what we're told, been advised by the Attorney General. Now, nobody is disputing the right to a fair trial. Like I personally think everyone has the right to access a fair trial, and there's no dispute in that. However, there are other constitutional rights at play here. The victim, survivor, or the complainant in any case deserves access to dignity, privacy, medical care, and also human rights are at play here as well. So I think the Constitution is, very much open to interpretation, like a lot of legal wording, and how it's interpreted by people. But I do feel that there is an imbalance of constitutional and human rights at play here. And I think that the Minister and ultimately the Attorney General could do an awful lot better than what the Minister has proposed, and view that. I know a number of TDs have said that there should be a call for a referendum. Whether or not that is something that takes place, I don't know. But I do agree with you on that front that, the wider public and anyone we've spoken to is actually shocked that this practice takes place. I'm
paraphrasing the Attorney General at this point, but I know that the concern there was the legal challenge with the potential that a conviction could be quashed as a result of the introduction of this. Yeah. So that is the fear there, I understand. But
the fear is because they would believe that it is unconstitutional in the respect that it doesn't respect the defendant's right to a fair trial, and that could be challenged and ultimately leads, according to them, to a conviction being quashed.
All right.
I don't know.
Hazel, it sounds like you need a breather yourself at this point. I'm sure.
Yeah. We're busy, and I wish we weren't, to be honest, but we are, and that's great that we are. But a breather would definitely be welcomed at the minute. But I think when you're kind of fired up and believing so much in what we're doing, that it's hard to take a breath sometimes, if I'm being totally honest. But I think what we're doing is very important as a group, as individuals, and that will continue. But as I said, we will regroup and take a couple of days rest and come back together and see how we move forward with this.
All right. Well, great to talk to you as always, and look after yourself, Hazel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hazel Behan there, co-founder of Eist. A caller into Leanne. Fran, I've asked Leanne to keep my name anonymous, but I'm a Tipperary woman. I was a victim of sexual assault 10 years ago, and it haunts me every single day. I chose to take it to court. I was one of the lucky ones who did get justice, but my journey was dark and complex. I blame myself. I often spoke to my therapist about how I blame myself, how maybe I said or did something that sent my attacker a signal. I blamed myself for not fighting back, and that maybe he took my silence, that it was okay. It took me years to accept that it was not my fault. If these therapy notes had have been brought up in my case, I know for a fact that with the mindset I was in at the time, that I would not have been able to handle it, and it may have led me to take my own life. Isn't that absolutely Absolutely awful. We'll take a break. Back in a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1800 938 007.
Into us on 083 311 3311. A message: I have zero faith in family carers Ireland. I feel totally let down by them. That's coming from a carer of the year in Tipperary. Richie harps on about means tests constantly, and while it does need to be abolished so more carers can avail of the measly support carers allowance offers, this does absolutely zero to help current carers on the allowance that are struggling. Well, in fairness, Richie made that point. It does nothing to help with the rest point emergency care if the carer themselves are sick. Mental health support, I could go on and on. We need to be properly represented in front of government, and I don't believe that's happening at the moment. Another listener in to say the carer's office in Clonmel is invaluable, Fran. The help and support that Richie gives is selfless. You can call him at any time of the day or night if you're in trouble and need emergency help. The people who look after loved ones at home are tied with their two hands behind their back. They can't go to work. They miss out on the ability to earn more money on a weekly basis. The government offer carers allowance of €270, where that doesn't even cover the bills in the household, never mind medications. Your life is 24/7 looking after your loved ones. We move on. The Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign has expressed its disappointment that the FAI wishes to proceed with the fixture against Israel in a third country, likely to be Hungary. And Zoe Lawler from the IPSC joins me now. Good morning to you, Zoe.
Good morning.
And thanks for coming on with us today. You said that the decision is against the wishes of most Irish footballers and indeed the fans, Zoe.
Absolutely. I mean, all the polls and surveys, including one done by the Professional Footballers Association of Ireland, show that the majority of League of Ireland players, members of the League of Ireland and also the broader public don't want these games to be played.
Are you surprised that the government has washed its hands of this and said, you know, it's not their issue, it's all about the FAI?
No, I'm not surprised, because for over 2.5 years we've watched the government do nothing to sanction Israel, even though we're watching a live stream genocide. They're even going to water down the Occupied Territories Bill. And I think it's very irresponsible of them to send out those mixed messages. You know, Patrick O'Donovan and Charlie McConaughey saying that they won't attend the games, but then they expect the FAI to go ahead with them. And I think if the FAI had the support of the government, it would strengthen their position if they did want to pull out of the fixtures.
Will you answer all the usual arguments you get that sports and politics should remain separate, that UEFA and FIFA have not suspended Israel and the FAI is a member of UEFA, so therefore it's not necessarily their issue? Would you just answer those for me, because I'm sure you get them all the time, Zoe?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the way people say sport and politics shouldn't mix is just a bizarre kind of framing. Like, we don't live in compartmentalised parts of our brains. You know, this is my sport part and this is my politics part. And sport and politics are intrinsically linked. And to play Israel is a political act, because that state is currently under investigation for genocide, committing genocide, and you're endorsing the normalisation of this by playing them. So it is political. And we can see with what's happening with the World Cup at the moment, the notion that sport and politics aren't political, is just ridiculous. And the second point was, so that makes that point that because the FIFA and UEFA won't act, it is up to individual sporting bodies to take a stand and to uphold UEFA's and FIFA's own statutes and to act by not playing the games.
The other one you get all the time, I presume, is players should not bear the burden of political disputes, Zoe.
Yeah, no, actually, we wouldn't put pressure on the players, because that's a very difficult position for them and it's very unfair. Obviously, if a player decided not to play, we would be very supportive and respect that and think that was great. But we understand that that's a very difficult position for players, and it's up to the sporting bodies to make those decisions and not put players in the position that they're in, as they were with Seamus Coleman and various other players being asked their position on this.
The other thing that might be said to you is that the match does not imply endorsement. In other words, it's a game of football.
No, I know, and we don't say that it implies endorsement, but what it does is it gives Israel a platform, again, similar to Eurovision, to present itself as a normal state on the world stage, same as everybody else, participating in a sporting event. When the reality is Israel has killed over 1,000 Palestinian athletes, including 421 football players, including a player who visited Ireland twice as a child as a football player.
It is really unfortunate indeed. It looks like it is going ahead, and the fact it's going ahead then in I suppose a neutral venue, a neutral country. What do you take from that?
Well, I think it's a terrible decision, because what it's doing is it's taking away our right to protest. Obviously, we don't want the games to go ahead at all. But if it's in a neutral venue, it takes away the right of the people of Ireland who want to protest, and it takes away a lot of the kind of momentum of the campaign, which I think is one reason why they're moving it after what the protests around the Cllr game. And I also think then it puts more pressure back on the players, because they will again be asked more about it. Whereas if it was in Ireland, the pressure is more on the FAI, I feel.
Now, of course, long before the current issues in Gaza, there were calls for a boycott of Israeli sporting institutions. I mean, that's been going on a long, long time, hasn't it?
Yeah. In fact, the Palestinian BDS boycott, divestment and sanctions call came in 2005. The year after the International Court of Justice ruled that the apartheid wall was illegal and should be taken down, and it's only gotten bigger. So, yeah, we've always supported the call for a sporting boycott of Israel, and long before this genocide, Israel was putting obstacles in front of all Palestinian players, refusing them travel, imprisoning them without trial or charge, shooting players in the feet, destroying football stadiums. So, the notion that UEFA and FIFA wouldn't have sanctioned Israel up to now is really shameful. And in fact, they refuse to adjudicate on the fact that Israel has clubs in illegal settlements.
If this goes ahead, and it probably will at this stage, the result of that will be what? How will that be viewed, do you think, Zoe?
Well, I think if you look back on our history and look back on how we view the Irish rugby tour to South Africa during apartheid, and how we respect and uphold the players who didn't go, like Tony Ward, and how they should be proud, and we're proud of the people who took a stand then, and the Dunstore strikers and everyone who stood against South African apartheid. And this is a real opportunity for the FAI to lead and to do something that reflects the will of the football community and the majority of people here, and to do the right thing and to be on the right side of history. And I think in time, when they look back, they will be ashamed that it went ahead if they don't pull out, and they will be proud if they do pull out that they did that and took those courageous, morally principled acts.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the screens in front of me here, and many people going along with what you're saying, and thinks that we should boycott this, we should get out of this. But a couple of questions in about the use of the word genocide. Do you get that a lot, that what the Israelis did or continue to do, I suppose, to some degree, in Palestine is genocide? Do you get questioned on that quite a bit?
Not really in Ireland, because like every major human rights organisation in the world has said it's genocide. Multiple genocide scholars have said that. In fact, an Israeli genocide scholar came out in November of 2023 and maybe even October, and said this is genocide. The International Court of Justice is investigating Israel for genocide, and the United Nations has said it's genocide. So I don't think it's really in question. And we see, like, all the indicators of genocide are there. Depriving people of the right to life, etc.
All right, Zoe, good to talk to you today, and thanks very much for making time for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning to you. Bye-bye now. And Zoe Lawler there from the Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign. How do you feel about that? Another listener on say, good morning, friend. If the government won't stop the game, they'll let the fans boycott the game completely and show the government what they think of their decision. That comes in from Richard in Cashel. I suppose, yeah, but by having the game in Hungary, is that not going to put pay to that, Richard? Pat was on to say, Fran, the trouble with carers is one size doesn't fit all. There's a huge difference between people who are caring 24/7 and others who need a lot less help, says Pat. Another listener, Barbara, on to say, Fran, since my first interaction with Richie and Family Carers Ireland in 2009, the help and support we've received has been invaluable. I genuinely don't know where I'd be without them. There is only so much Family Carers Ireland can do as they advocate on our behalf, and policy change is often very slow. With their support, we're able to start our Carers Choir, which has greatly benefited our well-being and helped reduce isolation. However, state services remain seriously lacking, and accessing the support carers and families need continues to be a constant battle, says Barbara to us today. Also into us, says he, fiddling around with the computer here. Frank, could you say a big thank you to Edwina from Fuss? From all of us struggling parents, Edwina goes above and beyond. She treats us like family, and nothing is ever too much trouble. She's a carer and faces her own struggles, but gives every spare minute, helping the rest of us to feel cared and appreciated. She picks up when we are down. She checks in on us, and she knows us. She's someone who deserves every bit of credit and recognition. So Edwina, Hazel and the Fuss team, we love and appreciate you all. You've helped and healed so many of us, and there's a lot of bad in the world, particularly the world of caring, but these ladies make it all worthwhile, and that comes from parents and children with additional needs across Tipperary. News and information is coming up.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the second hour of Tip Today. 1800 938 007. The line's closed on our competition now. We do have a winner for you. That's Ned Fitzpatrick from Ballygasheen. Well done to you, Ned, and a happy spending of that €50 voucher there in Slattery's of Nina. Fran, will you say get well to John McGrath? Casually, he's always ringing into the show. He's not very well at the moment. I'm a good friend, and he always talks very highly of Fran and Tipp FM, and it's on all the time in his house. Well, John, I know John for 50 years, I suppose. Do I, John? And we wish you the very best. I didn't realise you were a little under the weather, John. We're wishing you well this morning. Let us move on then, because the EU Migration and Asylum Pact is set to come into effect tomorrow. Ireland formally opted into the pact in June of 2024, and over the past couple of years the government has been introducing the necessary framework to prepare for its implementation. The new framework is expected to bring significant changes to how asylum migration are managed both here and indeed right across the European Union. Deputy Mattie McGrath joins me now. Good morning to you, Mattie.
Morning, Fran. If I could at the outset, it being National Carers Week, I attended a function on Tuesday morning. at the launch of the nice little cup of coffee and some nice choir as well. Just to say that, without sounding patronising, look, they do work. Obviously, there's going to be people unhappy and dissatisfied. We haven't got what they're promised by any manner or means. All promises for the election, but the means test is cruel. But as Richie said, the 270 is the problem. But just to compliment Richie and the team, and indeed Edwina, who was mentioned there, what she does with Fuss, just a tireless servant of the people. So people are picking up the pieces here. Nationally, the Cllr Association, I support them. I wasn't very happy when they supported the referendum to banish the women from the home. But look, that's the price you pay when you are a national organisation. You have to, in the government that time, Mr. Humphreys was ringing the carers every week to get out and get the vote out. So this is the problem nationally, but locally, I think you do a great job, and obviously there'll be people fall through the cracks, but I couldn't say enough for the people that look after the sick children, and it's just so tragic when they lose them. It's just no words to describe, so we shouldn't be begging.
And are you saying to me that you can see the point of some of the people who are critical of Family Carers Ireland, then, that maybe they're a little too close to the government because of funding? Is that what you're saying to me, Mattie?
This is the problem with the NGO land now has taken over this country, and the government have the money, so the government control everything. And if you don't toe the line, the funding is in jeopardy. I know that Minister Heather Humphreys was ringing the head of the carers nearly on a daily basis to get out canvassing for that election. That's the problem. It's disgusting. It shouldn't be happening, but that's the way Ireland has become. You have, I think, 36,000 NGOs. Some very good ones do great work, charitable groups. I'm a member of a few myself. But you have the big ones that are in front of government, behind government, beside government, in government's ears, and they're dictating policy. And I'm not saying the carers are that, but once you're in there around the table, you can't bang the table.
As I said at the very beginning, the Asylum and Migration Pact kicks into effect tomorrow. You have said, Mattie, that the people of Ireland will pay a heavy price for this government decision. What do you mean by that?
Well, they will, and as I said, I raised it into Dolly's with the Taoiseach, waste of time, absolute waste of time, and kind of just putting people down, telling you misinformation. When in fact, he's the apt. He has misinformation and disinformation down to a fine art. And it's ironic when I went back on it, on May the 1st, 2024, I, after about 15 months certainly, fighting to get a debate in Dolly and put down my own motion with the rural independence of Callanoda and myself. And it was a May Day call, as I said, because it was May 1st. And of course, that was debated and voted down. We went on then to the June 26, 2024, when the government voted it through again. He said there was a full debate, parliamentary democracy. No, there wasn't. There was dozens and dozens and dozens of amendments that were never dealt with, same as the bill last night. So that vote was 79 to 72. But the point a lot of people are making, and I'm making, there was 36 new TDs there who never had the opportunity to vote on that. So he's afraid of his life to put it to the people, because he got such a waller from the people, and the people have a major distrust of the men regarding triple lock, regarding neutrality. But this issue here is crazy. What we need in Ireland is a migration system that is not only well managed, but also stringent, efficient, and effectively enforced to safeguard, our borders. And none of that's happening.
But the point that the Taoiseach is making on this, that it's not just an Irish issue, and it needs to be dealt with at EU issue, because it's a shared European issue.
This is the problem with our government and our Taoiseach especially, and for a number of years, it's all about Europe. It's not about the Irish citizens at all. This is disastrous for Ireland for a number of reasons. First of all, look, I condemn the violence. My God, that horrific attack. And there's so many more of them, actually, Murphy, you name it, there's cases all the time. We've spoken about this. We were called racist. We were called every kind of a situation. But the sad part about it was the left parties all decided to back the government all the way through on this issue. And the Taoiseach was welded to Europe, and he's forgotten completely. Other than the game of Hull and supporting Cork, his interest is outside of Ireland, not Ireland. Obviously, he's going to have the presidency of the EU coming up shortly now. I wish him well with that, but that is last hurrah. Probably get a big job in Europe then after that, and to hell with the people. The problem we have here with this pact is nothing can be front of him to do with what he's saying, because we have two problems. One is we don't have the number of migration officers, we don't have the department staff, we don't have the Gardaí, we don't have the wherewithal. Look at Dundrum. there was obviously a part of that, policy was that you couldn't change the demographics of any place with putting in iPass people by more than 5%. Dundrum was changed by 105%. 178 residents, and put in over 300 people.
But he's saying that with this pact, Mattie, you'll have better border identity, security checks, you'll reduce secondary movement there, you'll have the whole solidarity of the EU mechanism, for example.
Frank, you had those saying around long enough. Live hostage, get grass. Nothing can be further from the truth. And then the penalties are, if we don't take them, they'd rate us on our GDP, gross domestic product, which is top class at the moment because of the front.
Seems to be a very wealthy country.
Yes, but we're not, as you know, and the previous subject would tell you that, and many others. But we're going to be fined enormously because of our GDP, which is confined. It's not in your pockets or Tipperary's pockets or the shopkeepers or the small business or the farmers, contractors, men and women going to work. It's this fictitious figures that they have there. They can't have money for this or that. They can't get rid of the means test for them carers because they haven't, but yet they have this massive surplus, and we're being seen by that in Europe. Great people, we charge them so much. You're going to be charged in relation to your GDP for the numbers you won't take. This is horrific. Coming on top of this week, where they tell us they're going to fine us for cutting turf.
Right.
My God.
Look, again, where the pact, calling for this to be reversed in some way, is that not just making drama? Because that can't happen. The decision is made on this. We can't opt back out.
There are articles there, friend, that we can invoke a pausing, or I ask for a pausing, if you listen to my statement at all, you stay with him, a pausing and a holding, and see some semblance of sense, because what happened in Belfast is horrendous, and what's happening in other parts. But people are driven to this because they see they're not being represented by their government. He told me yesterday Ireland was a parliamentary
but you can't excuse what's going on in Belfast with places being burnt out and all of that.
I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that people have been driven to within the sort of school protests, and he turned the army on his own people and called in the army and said Jim O'Callaghan. They have lost touch with the people, and people can see that this is mad stuff, this migration pact. As I said, for the reasons, we're a small country. With the numbers that we have are just beggars belief. We don't have the services ourselves. We don't have the hospital. Look at University Hospital Limerick every day of the week. This time of year, summer, 90 people on beds days. So we took all these people in, and we didn't put any extra services. We haven't even the services to deal with our own people. We have this fallacy then of the GDP. And we'll be fined if we don't take them, because in ratio to our GDP. So it's going to be very cruel blow, and we have time to pause it, and we have time to look for an extension. But no, he would look for anything because he wants his big job in Europe. He's fencing to Europe tune.
Yeah, I looked into this, Mattie, and there would be a huge amount of work to opt out of this. Again, you'd have to change legislation in Europe. It would be just very complex indeed. So I think it's kind of a done deal whether it's liked or not.
Well, Einstein said a different definition of madness was to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. We must stop this policy. We must change it. I just can't believe that people carry on in spite of the numbers, in spite of the issues that are coming up on a daily basis, and in spite of not having services for our own people.
What are you making of what the Labour leader, Ivana Bacik, says? She wants to provide an amnesty for thousands of illegal immigrants already living here. What do you make of that?
I told you when I finally got that debate on May Day, interesting, in 2024, the government didn't even come into debate. The minister came in to reply to the debate. The party of the left went in and attacked me and Carol and others that were opposing this. This is what we have, kind of a government we have now. A right back, of government, and we have the phony opposition. Of course she is. That's totally out of touch. Ask Michael Brennan, had them on last week, how he feels about that, or anybody else in Tipperary. It's totally out of touch. I don't know what's gotten into them. It's kind of a liberal, neoliberal, fascist agenda here that are just changing the demographics and changing the face of our country. And all the parties, every one of them, involved in it, and to one, with the exception of A2, I'd say, but it's just a shocking situation. And he says that.
Well, Sinn Féin are pains to point out that they're against the pact big time, so they?
Yes, they're against it now, and they did vote against it in the all the time, but they did little to support it. As I told you, and the business committee for 15 months, every Thursday, I fought for a debate on this. I got no support from any party, any groups. When it came to it all, we were attacked and pilloried and we were being demonised. That's what's going on now with this liberal setup. Anyone that questions anything, same with the education system in the schools, question this horrible stuff that's been put on our children, you're labelled and portrayed by the media, who the government are paying. I imagine the government gave RT 725 million last July for 3 years. So, I mean, that's the spin we get on everything. Then you're a racist, or you're a bigot, or you're a homophobe, or something else. All these words are safety crap. It's all part of an agenda that's worldwide, and part of the WEF, and this is going on with 40 years. But people need to wake up very fast and see it.
But you know what people are screaming at the radio now? That Mattie is spouting conspiracy theories that he's reading on social media.
I'm not. I don't get into social media, but I just read politics. It's real facts. Look at our situations all over the country. I mean, we're just creating an untenable situation that is going to reap dastardly results, and I think it's a pity. And I salute all the hard-working Irish people and trying to promote our culture with the flag floating in the air now. It's a wonderful in Belfast this year, and this now in the middle coming up, it's pretty worrying and disconcerting, because it's a fabulous feast of our culture and our heritage, and people come from all over the world. And you're meeting people what I am, and the dance halls and every place else. You know what the people are saying and thinking, and I don't mind being called a conspiracy theorist. This is happening and unfolding in front of our eyes. And tomorrow, or Friday, the teacher will be in Brussels probably. I know he's going to be over there at the end of the month anyway, getting his crowning the European president. And that's all he wants. He's not interested in Irish people. We have Irish water, we have other quangos set up. No one can deal with him.
Well, I'm sure he would disagree profoundly with you on all of that. Where the sulkies are concerned, that bill that came before the Dáil then for a ban on sulkies on public roads, was that specifically where sulky racing is concerned?
Yeah, look, I see some people, and I have neighbours that they go out for a trot, but they tend their horses or sulky, a handful of them, and that happens around the country. They look after their horses and their sulkies, and they're not a danger to the road. Sulky racing has no place on tarmac. It has no place on public roads. It has no place, for children riding sulkies. It's a danger to themselves. It's horribly cruel to the horses and ponies, and it's so dangerous to motorists and pedestrians. Look at the incidents that are happening. We had a big hubbub lately about the scrambler when someone was killed. We brought in the name of the law, now lose me, the person who was killed. And we're going to do the same when we'll have a fatality on sulky racing. And I'm not against sulky racing per se, but on tracks. They have it in Australia, they have it in France, they have it all over the world. I brought this bill forward again twice in the past, and I got no support from Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, or anybody. So we have soundings now from.
Well, in fairness, though, Michael Murphy spoke out a lot about this in the Dáil, did he not?
Yeah, I'm talking about when I brought the bill ever before Michael Murphy was near the Dáil. So we'll see. But action is better than words. He might speak out, but I mean, is Fine Gael going to support this bill? I'm not saying it's perfect. Take it, amend it, and bring in legislation rather than what we have at the moment.
Yeah, because it's kind of complex. I mean, what is the current setup, Mattie? I mean, it's illegal to organise a race, but it's not illegal to race. Is that the way? Is that the way it is?
Yes, and my bill calls for any race, sulky race to be held on tarmac or roads, public roads, without the explicit planning commission will say our licence can't be held. So it needs to be licensed and curtailed, and you're trying to find who organises or whatever else. If we want to hold a public event, you have to get a licence, health and safety statement. When Councillor Brennan held that march, a peaceful march, he had to have a health and safety statement. He had to have notice given to the Gardaí, and he had to public notice and everything else. So why not the same for them? Look, we can't wait for someone and something to happen. And I've asked the people involved in the travel community, Heavy Pint and others, I've asked your good self to try and mediate between the gentleman and Cashel, ourselves, to sit down. Can we work together and work this out and get a sand-based track where the prime experience here, worldwide recognition of our equine prowess here in Tipperary, the horse racing Ireland. Surely God, we can come together
and that's
tracks.
The racing aspect of it, Mattie. But a lot of the issues in question, though, are just where it was a single sulky with a horse and the like, just trotting away,
driven by a child under 10.
Yeah. So are you looking for? Are you looking for a complete ban on sulky use within certain areas then, or what?
On public roads.
On public roads, completely.
First of all, if they're not shod properly, the tarmac and bitumen and concrete isn't suitable for the horses' feet. And can I just say to you, the injuries that are told to us by the animal rescue people, and I want to salute all the animal rescue people that are involved here. I'm not against horse racing. I'm not anti-sport. I'm just saying cruelty is paramount here. The cruelty is a huge issue. But above all, safety on our roads. We can't have a child in the car, rightly so, without being properly strapped in. There's children as young as 4 and 5 and 6 sitting up on these as passengers, and it's so dangerous. There's no protection whatsoever. And the Gardaí haven't the powers, as I said, you have bylaws in Kilkenny, some in Waterford, and different places. It's a patchwork that needs to be brought together, have clarity in legislation, and the Gardaí need to be resourced in to deal with them.
Right, but we're no further along with this, really, are we, at the moment?
Well, the private members was accepted by the government yesterday. Mr. May Butler was speaking on behalf of the government, or accepted it. So I'm hoping the government will take this. Otherwise, I have to wait for the lottery system to be lucky to get a debate at second stage. So we need, and we need to hold Michael Murphy to account. He's great at announcing stuff and saying he'll do this, but delivery is very important. We saw him during the week. You think he built the new St. Anthony Centre up there. I understand he went in there without any permission, under false pretences, and videoed.
Well, no, I doubt if he went in under false pretences.
A lot of people work so hard on that issue of St. Anthony's for years, and I want to compliment the staff and the present St. Anthony's working under those circumstances. And I'm just saying it's great to go in and do a video and announce everything else. I mean, but a lot of delivery, and you must recognise that. Because
isn't that what politicians do? I mean, when there's a good news story, they all jump on board, and
Yeah, well, look,
wouldn't you have done that yourself over the years, Mattie?
I would never go into any place like that before it was officially opened, and the staff aren't one bit pleased about it. I've been contacted by a number of staff about what happened. You think he built it himself with a shovel and blocks, and the amount of work went into that. There's a committee there as well for the hospice beds. Remember, we lost 4 hospice beds in Carrick and Sure. Now we're getting 3, but there's a lot of a lack of staff facilities there now because the rooms had to be found for the hospice, and 3, which I welcome, but we'll wait and see the final product. But it's a fine building. It looks well. We thought from the outside, and I wouldn't dare to go in and let on I was somebody from an official from the department and say.
Well, he didn't let on anything. He introduced himself.
Were you there?
No, well, I wasn't there, but I saw the video. All right, where he
saw the video. It looks great.
Well, yeah, he just gave people a look at the facility there. Is that not?
People can see that for what it is. As I told you, we're lobbying for that for a decade or more. We're still waiting for the 60-bed unit test. Now they're fooling around looking for another site, obfuscate and delay. Instead of getting down, take the sleeves up. I was at a meeting in Cashel 4 years ago now. I was there with Martin Brown. At the time, Roger Kennedy, and we were told in Our Ladies were sitting down, this site isn't visible anymore. I mean, you hit with this bombshell, they go up to Farmers Hill and they go around here and there and they have auctioneers looking for places. This is all delay and obfuscation.
Well, you see, a lot of the people in Cashel would figure that, St. Anthony's in Clonmel was there to the detriment of what happened in Cashel. And, they feel that...
No, there's 2. There's meant to be 2. There's like, we need these. There's a spine new one down in Thomastown.
But when in Cashel? I mean, yes. But
we were working towards the tent parties being developed on that site. And just out of the blue, with no notice, in the meeting, we're told to say it's not suitable anymore. Anyone that knows the site, there's ample space there, and there was hundreds of patients there.
Look, we've covered it so much, Mattie. Nobody can figure out what went wrong over there.
I know that. And the same with St. Anthony's, but I mean, no one needs to go in and try and take the Cllr before it's even open, or before any patient.
Mattie, politicians do that every day of the week.
Well, some politicians might, right? I don't think I do it, and people know. People can see through this. As I said, lots of people work so hard.
All right, just finally, you made reference to the report that the Oireachtas committee chairs are seeking a pay boost. Now, there was some confusion over that the claim in that report, Mattie, but you're taking issue with that, are you?
I am. I mean, I served as a convener on the committee and never got the privilege of being chair or vice chair where there's remuneration from. There's ample remuneration, and they have a whole secretariat. Anytime you look at the committee meeting, you'll see the secretariat. The clerk is sitting beside the chair, and there's another official as well. And there's a background team. So this is another story that's gone wrong and it leaked out there or got out there, or the mail dug it out. looking for more resources. And these times when we can't get the carers looked after, when we can't get, people that, that need certain procedures and operations, and when he was asked, Deputy Murphy was asked on the radio about this, he wasn't forthcoming his answers. He knew nothing about it. It was like Tom Exelson one time in Kerry. He was doing a minister, and he was at an old IRA funeral. I was at Manny myself, and there was shots fired, and there was guard of honour. And he said he was I think it was Frank Hall said he was both deaf and blind. He didn't hear the shots, or he didn't see the colour party.
Well, the point that Michael Murphy was making, here am I speaking for Michael Murphy, he's well able to speak for himself, but the point that he did make to me was that he wasn't looking for more money, he was looking for more resources, and he did point to all the work, particularly that his own committee is doing.
Look, Fran, I mean, they have a secretariat, an example. There's I think there's 18,000 or 20,000 remuneration just for being a committee chair. It's just not saleable for Michael Murphy to say he wasn't aware that this group of chairs were looking for more resources, and then he didn't meet any of his own colleagues at Parliamentary Party or anything else. He knew nothing about the meeting. That's just not. Look, please, we're all adults here. We're not that foolish.
Well, I mean, he did make the point that he wasn't at that particular meeting, and
he didn't inquire about it.
And that he said, I asked him straight, was he looking for more money? And he said no, but they are looking for more resources because of the amount of work that they're doing. So you don't accept that.
They have plenty of resources. I told you, anyone looking today in any committee meeting and will see the resources that they have, and they have plenty of remuneration.
Well, it said every committee has a clerk who's like an administrator. They handle the correspondence and the agendas of the meeting, but nothing else.
The clerk now kind of dictates what happens. He's a very senior official. There's been a number of assistant clerks and assistants. You look at any committee meeting, there's a whole team of officials, whatever the subject is, dealing with that. Look, come on, we're in the real world now. We're not penny pinching here, but I mean, to be looking for more money is at this time when, as I said, carers have been promised so much, got so little, and a plethora of other areas, and then to found out to say you didn't hear or know anything about it, you didn't know this was going on, and wouldn't let the meeting, or you met no one since. That doesn't wash.
All right, Mattie, thanks for your time this morning. Thank you. Good morning to you. That's Mattie McGrath speaking to us there. 1800 938 007.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, puck on. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Peter Ryan from Newcastle has been contributing to the show for many years, and he joins me now. Good morning to you, Peter.
Good morning, Fran. How are you today?
I'm very well indeed, and good to talk to you, Peter.
And you?
You're going to talk to us about the hurling championship, and you think there needs to be some changes to it. Now, as you know, what I know about sport could be written on a postage stamp, Peter. So what changes do you think needs to be made?
Yeah, well, Fran, I'm a Waterford man living in Newcastle, County Tipp for the last 43 or 4 years, and they'd say the same about me.
Indeed. So you want changes made to the championship. Why so? Because
yeah, look, that whole thing is a farce, and this is what everybody is talking about, and this is the talk by the real hurling people that look, we have Waterford, Tipperary, Kilkenny, Wexford gone out of the championship nearly, I suppose, now with a month at this stage.
Yeah.
They all hold in we'll say the kind of the spring time, not in the summer when hurling is about a real good field game that is played on really the height of the summer, and that come into August, early September, and to have top of the range teams knocked out so early every year. It's they're just going to ruin the game and ruin the association, in my book. It's scandalous that players that put in an effort training from, we'll say, November to May and gone. To me, that has to change.
And what was the reasoning again behind all of it? Was it to make room for the club games? Was that the reasoning behind it?
That's what they're telling us. But the reality of it is, Fran, all our best hurlers are in New York and places. The men that are out of the championship are on a plane, and I don't blame them. They're right. They get a few pounds out there to play, and their skill and their quality is appreciated. Here, You lose you cup 3 games or whatever in like a month, so you're gone, and forget about it the following year. And they say it's for the club. Look, maybe a certain amount of it is for the club, but we're going to have to go back to the old way and have hurling going on longer into July, August and early September, and forget about the concerts and the rest of the stuff that's going on in our top stadiums that we've all fundraised for and bought tickets for and done everything for, and all it seems to be now is turning into concerts.
And do you think the games are suffering because of the commercial aspect of the GAA now? Is that it?
Yeah. Look, first of all, this GAA Go is another big thorn on my side. Like the few games we're on, most of us couldn't see them because we have bad internet or something, and we couldn't get them on this pay-to-go, and they cutting on, cutting off. It was a complete farce. We played like a Waterford this year. 4 games, 3 of them were on pay-to-go, and you just couldn't see them. I think Tipp wasn't too far off of that as well. So, if we changed the championship, now we're able to put on, I think, 64 soccer games for the next month or whatever.
I thought it was even more than that, is it not? 100 and something games.
It could be, but there's a lot of games. Maybe there's about 64 that would be even anywhere near worth watching, maybe is what I've in my head. But I have a plan. I think this can be changed up, Fran. We can get hurling back and we can get teams involved in it. Leave the Munster Championship, Leinster Championship, leave that as it is, leave that go.
Yeah.
Play it earlier, have it played earlier, and leave it go on as it always was, because people would say, it's the best championship.
But what's leading you to believe that there's an appetite within Croke Park to do something about this, to go along with it?
I don't believe there's any appetite in Croke Park where fill the stadium with concerts and just kind of carry on.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, they're not for turning on this, surely, Peter, are they?
Well, if the grassroots turn, then they'll have no choice.
I wonder about that, because the grassroots were up in arms about no cash at the Styles and, having to older people trying to book tickets online and stuff,
Yes, but we still all turned up. We didn't protest. We didn't take a stance. We were up in line. A few of us rang the like of yourself and whinged and grumbled, but we didn't take a stance. If we went into a county final and if both teams and clubs and supporters stood outside the gate until they got rid of this rubbish, then we'd make some bit of progress, Fran.
And do you think the grassroots of the GAA, do you think this is bubbling under and that might come to pass?
This is bubbling big time.
Is it?
Time. But I think what's really, really after stirring things up a little bit this year is the big guns are gone. The Tipps and the Kilkennys. Leave our Waterford go every year, so that's nearly what happens to them, man. Even though they're probably the finest hurlers in the country. Real summer hurlers, real skillful hurlers. And, leave them off, they're gone. The rest, but this year, when you see Kilkenny gone, Tipp gone, Wexford gone, Waterford gone, and a big fast game between Cork and Offaly coming up in a couple of weeks' time, this is where the whole thing is bubbling.
And what is the result of that, Peter? And again, you'll have to forgive my ignorance on this. What is the result, as you say, of the big guns being gone then? In terms of interest in it, is that what you mean?
We have 2 teams that played last Sunday in the Munster final. Unless something really, really, really happens differently, we'll have the same 2 teams playing the All-Ireland. And in between, we'll have a quarter-final of 2 teams, then the semi-final, and the semi-final will be the losers of the Leinster and Munster playing one another, I'd imagine, again. And, the whole thing is only a couple of teams involved. Hurling is a small enough county interest in our country. So if we keep knocking out and dumping the hurling counties out early in the year, the whole lot of the interest is going to go for.
Dan was on to us from Carrickbeg, and he's saying, Fran, RT are showing 104 World Cup matches.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? And they only showed one of the Waterford hurling games this year,
What is that saying? What's that saying to you, Peter?
It's just we have lost. Look, I won't go into politics, but we've just lost the run of ourselves in this country. what we stood for, what we were about. It's just been sold down the Swanee by our politicians and our GA, the people that we always looked up to and thought were the ones that would keep Ireland as Ireland, like, you know. So we're just losing it. Our national game, it's going to go. It's going to completely lose its place in Irish history. And
a listener says, tell Peter, many years ago inter-county teams were gone out of the championship in May as it was a knockout. Now they have 4 games in the championship. Less than 2% of hurlers played inter-county, 100% play club, which now begins for the rest of the year. That's what the GAA are about, the grassroots. Discuss, Peter Ryan.
Yeah, look, that's why did they change it all? Why did they turn around a couple of years later, Fran, and bring in the back door and all the rest of it? And when the like of Waterford actually won the Munster Championship, which they did for a good few years there with a really good team, there was the back door brought in at that stage, so they were bet again in the semi-final or final. Like that didn't always happen that teams were out in May. They might have for a short time back. I don't remember it, but back a long time ago, like, you know. But that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is inter-county hurling is our top-of-the-range hurling game. It's the best people doing playing the bed what they're at their very best. And we're not getting to see that.
Well,
Clubs is all. I'm a clubman, have been all my life. I have no problem with clubs. But clubs had no problem down through the years winning their county championships at whatever stage no more. It's all freeing up the big pitches for the concerts and the rest of it.
I think you might have started a big conversation looking at my screen here, Peter, so we'll see where this goes. Look after yourself, Peter.
I just wanted to mention, I was speaking to a man last night, Charlie Brannigan there from Barn Park, and he's in the GA all his life, and he came up and we just spoke for a few minutes, and he had exactly the same format as I have for the new run of the All-Ireland.
Right, so that's the thinking.
That format, if I have a minute to tell you, is to have 10 teams in it, have 2 teams of 5, playing one another. The winners of both sides go into a semi-final. The losers of both sides play 3rd place, and the 2 winners of that go into the semi-finals to play the 2 winners. That way we'd have our best teams playing hurling at the best time of the year.
All right, well, you certainly started a conversation. Peter, thanks for that. Pleasure as always. Look after yourself.
Thank you, Fran. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Janelle. Peter Ryan there in Newcastle.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long-wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or email tiptoday@tipfm.com.
And you're very welcome back to Tip Today. A lot of commentary in following my conversation there with Peter, and a lot following the conversation with Mattie as well. But we will get back to it. It's time for a Garda slot. Glad to be joined by John McCormack in the studio. John, of course, Sergeant in charge of crime prevention in the county. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, Fran.
Good to see you today. Can I just ask you briefly about knife crime, because it's of great concern to an awful lot of people, particularly with what we've been hearing about over the last while, John. Is the Gardaí concerned about knife crime?
Oh, we are concerned, definitely, Fran. But thankfully, I suppose for us in the Tipperary division, it's not an issue for us in the division. But I suppose it's quite clear. I suppose possession of knives or sharply pointed articles, it's an offence under the Firearms and Foreign Offensive Weapons Act. You know,
so that's a crime.
That's a crime. It's an offence to carry. I suppose, just to put it simply, I suppose the basic rule of it is you know, if you're found in possession of a knife, you know, you're presumed guilty unless you can prove that you have it for law, you know, for that you have a reasonable excuse to have it. We'll say, you know, if you're carrying it, for example, if you're a chef and you had it and had it, that you know, or a fisherman or somebody like that. But you have to be able to prove that you have the knife for a reason. And I suppose just onto that and let people know, you know, there are certain knives that are banned. You know, and we're talking about the knives, the likes of flicked knives, you know, butterfly knives, or any of these knives, or any weapon, I suppose, that's adapted, I suppose, to injure or incapacitate a person. You know, so these are damned as well, are banned now, and the penalties range, I suppose, the penalties are heavy enough, you know. The penalties are, I suppose, from 12 months to up to 7 years, you know, and heavy fines as well in relation to it. So, you know, let's be clear about it. Knives are banned, and I suppose anybody that brings a knife out and for a social occasion, that again, you know, they're looking for trouble. And if people suspect that somebody has a knife, or they know somebody has a knife, I suppose I'd ask them, you know, to ring the Gardaí 999 to report that, or if they want to ring the Garda confidential line 1-800-666-111, you know, to report it, and, you know, not to confront these people, you know.
Theft from cars. Every time we speak, we have this. We go to Nina first of all, there where there was a break into a car, you know.
Yeah, we've in the Drumnaquilla area of Nina on the 6th of June, Fran, we had a couple of cars that were entered there, I suppose, and there was thefts from those cars as well. Cars were gone through as well. Also, I suppose, on Monday night, the 8th in Rosgray, in the Clonard area of Rosgray, we had a number of cars. With 2 males, we've reported 2 males that entered the estate, and a number of cars were gone through as well. You know, one of the cars, there was a purse taken, you know, and other valuables, and there was other items taken from vehicles as well. I suppose this goes back to something that we were talking about in the last couple of months. I suppose, you know, groups travelling by night, travelling into an estate, getting out, going through cars, checking to see which car is open, and checking the states of cars. Have cars open, and is there keys in the cars, or is there keys left in the door of the cars as well, you know? And all these, I suppose, are leading on to further crime then as well. It'd be burglary or unauthorised takings of vehicles or criminal damage and that as well. So,
so I know you've done it 100 times, but lock up your car. Don't have valuables seen in your car.
We're appealing to people. You know, it's so simple to lock a car now. It's one flick of press of the button in most cases. But before you go to bed at night, make sure your car is locked, you know, and and doors are locked as well, and keys are put away safely, you know. Let's make it. Don't make it easy for the thief. That's the, you know. Let's make it difficult. Yeah, if we can at all.
There was a house broken into then in Nina as well, John. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, on the, I suppose, the same night in Nina, in the Earl Court of Rosgray, actually, a house was broken into. Nina Gardaí are investigating in that case there. So I suppose if anyone has any information there, the Earl Court in area of Rosgray.
Right. And another burglary then in Nina itself, I think, was it?
There was, yeah. There was another one then on Tuesday morning the 9th at 3:30 a.m. A burglary occurred at Kilnasalla in the Richmond area of Nina. I suppose this is a little bit unusual now, Fran, because this is something that we've been promoting from a crime prevention perspective. Is the key of the house was in a lockbox outside the house. Now the lockbox was forced open, and it takes a considerable amount of force to force open a lockbox. But the key was taken out of the lockbox, and entry was gained to the house. But fortunately, and I suppose to compliment this homeowner as well, we talk about layers of security, you know, delaying and deterrent and deny people access to your home. The alarm was on in the house, and when the alarm went off, the intruders fled. So, you know, I compliment the homeowner that,
security,
this person had layers of security in place. So I suppose that's in the Richmond area of Nina. And if anybody has any information, the Gardaí in Nina are investigating that as well.
Very good. An incident that made the headlines, the burglary at the post office in Duncarron. Now, what can you tell us about that?
Did know, yeah. That was a nasty incident, I suppose. On the 9th, the same night again, the burglary was, post office in Duncarron was broken into. Window was smashed, the front pane was smashed anyway, and entry was gained. But I suppose in this case we see, you know, CCTV has been downloaded, I suppose, harvested in the area as well, and it observes a white Volvo Jeep in the area as well. So we're talking about 3-4 o'clock in the morning. If anybody has observed that, if anybody's on the road and saw that vehicle, we're looking for them maybe to come forward to the Gardaí in Nina as well. But one male entered the post office and as well, but they fled. They caused a considerable amount of damage to the property as well. But we're also looking in relation to that white Volvo Jeep. I suppose we believe it was later involved in an incident in Burr where there was the unauthorised taking of another vehicle, and which was used to commit further crimes. So I suppose we're very interested to get anybody any information in relation to that. They might come forward to Gardaí and Nina.
All right, very good. Drink driving then in the care area.
Yeah, this was a one. This is some good work there by the members attached to Cllr Garda station there. On Saturday night, the 6th of June, Gardaí received a report of a vehicle having collided with some vehicles in the Mountain View area of Cllr. I suppose Gardaí arrested a male at the scene, and he was conveyed to Cllr station, where a sample was taken, and they believe he was under the influence of an intoxicant. So I suppose it's the reminders altogether, you know, if you're going to drink, don't drive. Make a plan.
To Carrick-on-Suir, then a burglary at a business there.
Yep, that's right. There was a break-in there to a business there, DT Autos there in Carrick-on-Suir on Sunday night, Monday morning, the 78th of June. The building was broken into through the front door. Lock was broken and damaged in the door. The building was broken, and there was a considerable amount of damage caused to the inside of the building there as well. So I suppose if anybody has any information, you know, and you don't go breaking into a premises, somebody hears something or somebody knows something. So the Gardaí in Carrick-on-Suir, or alternatively the Gardaí in Clonmel are investigating there. But the scene was examined, Fran, and I suppose there's a live investigation there in relation to that damage as well.
Right, and also in Carrick then, Clonmel swimming pool outside of there was criminal damage.
Yeah, the next one in Clonmel, I saw this one and I just said this was, you know, criminal damage. What this is there was a vehicle parked in the car park there. I suppose a lot of people are familiar with it as well in Clonmel, in the McDellahunty car park there in the swimming pool. Yeah. But there was a blue Skoda Octavia was damaged, and somebody hit that car, and they knew they hit it, Fran, but you know, they didn't do the decent thing. They didn't, you know, make contact with somebody or leave a note on the windscreen.
So they drove off.
They drove off. Yeah, I spoke to somebody at the weekend, and they were explaining to me, you know, that their partner had a tip with a vehicle, and they left her name and her address and telephone number on the windshield of the car. You know, she said it was very minor on that, but at the same time, she left it, or she did the decent thing. Now she hasn't been contacted since in relation to it. Do you know? But still, she reported to the security man on site as well. So I suppose we'd ask anybody, I suppose, on Monday the 8th of June, if they're in the vicinity there of McDellahunty car park and saw anybody backing into a car. If they got the details, they might report there to Gardaí in Clonmel.
Bogus traders, bogus callers once again, John.
Yeah, friend, these bogus traders, bogus callers, I suppose we're seeing an increase in these as well coming in summer months there now, and the weeds there are starting to come out of the shoots in the houses, and I suppose they're attracting people in, and they're offering their services as well. But what we see a lot of lately is, and I've even observed it myself, even I saw it up your own way, even, Fran, a number of signs, I suppose, put onto I suppose county council signs, road traffic signs, but signs put on, you know, people offering their services, you know, local roofing experts, you know, offering their services, gardening services being offered as well, power hosing services and that, you know, being offered as well, with a telephone number, no name on it, and just a telephone number, and these people, you know, purporting to be reputable traders. I suppose it goes back to the same thing again. You know, I'm asking people to look for somebody that's in your own area and reliable, or somebody that has done work for a friend of yours or a neighbour or somebody, a colleague. You know, get these people to do the work for you. Don't be bringing in people that you don't know who you're bringing into your house, you know, to carry out work and do these jobs as well, you know.
Just about out of time, but I do want to mention, and it's a well presented piece that you have on personal safety, holiday security, and it's that time of year, of course, again, John. Yeah,
we're into the holiday season now. I suppose, you know, once the leaving cert is over, a lot of people are going to be hitting away on holidays, families and young kids and that as well. But I suppose we're just asking people as well, just be security conscious when you're going your holidays, you know. Don't be posting, you know, on Facebook, you know, I'm here at the airport, or we're off to Tenerife for the week, 10 days. You know, you're putting up a sign for everybody that, you know, your house is vacant. You know, I heard someone playing a request on the radio, on the TV, I think maybe even at the weekend, you know, about someone going away on holidays. You know, I just said, my God, I said, you know, do you really want?
We don't do we?
We don't think, you know, we just stick it up and post it up, and that, you know, I suppose, you know, just about being careful, and, you know, let your neighbours know you're going as well, and your lighting as well. You know, make sure there's lighting on at night, and that, you know, make sure your house has the signs of occupancy. There's one small piece, if I'm able to mention it there, Fran. I suppose it's it comes there from the Cllr area. It's the Cllr Community Group, and I suppose with in association with some local representatives as well, they're holding a crime prevention meeting, and we have a community safety meeting as well. Now, I'm going to give a presentation at the meeting as well in relation to crime prevention and home safety, and also Ned Carney from Weenton Natira will be in attendance on as well. But just to flag it there, people, it'll be on Thursday night, the 25th of June, in St Mary's Hall in Cllr. We're looking for people, I suppose, to attend. You know, if there's somebody that you know that could. You know, it's a nice presentation, and it's useful. You know,
I don't want you inundated with work, but you are prepared to meet with communities and give them advice, aren't you?
Oh yeah, it's great. You know, we had a meeting during the week there in Knock-and-Rosgrave as well, you know, so it's great to get around the county, and I suppose we're looking for people to try and help them, and, you know, if we can help prevent one crime, you know, save a victim, that's what we want, you know, so.
All right. Well, good to see you as always, John, and thanks very much indeed for that. That's Sergeant John McCormack, Crime Prevention Officer for the county. News and information's on the way.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puckon. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puckon. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the final hour of Tipp Today. Now, a few people on to us following my conversation there with Sergeant John McCormack about the ceremonial knives that Sikhs have on their person generally as part of their religion, Sikhism, I think it's called. I'm not sure because John had left the studio, but I know he did say that if you had good reason, that, you know, if there was a reason that you were carrying a knife, and maybe that would be seen as being a reason because it's a ceremonial knife and it's part of their religion. I don't know. I'm not sure. I know there's a lot of controversy about it in the UK at the moment. Earlier on this week, Betty joined us on the show to discuss the practice of churching in our parishes in decades gone by. Now, this was a tradition where new mothers would not be allowed into the church with the rest of the congregation until they received a blessing deeming them cleansed after birth. There was a huge reaction on the show. Many people getting in touch to share their own experiences. And Anne joins me now. Good morning to you, Anne.
Good morning.
And lovely to talk to you. Anne, you were churched in 1967, you were telling Leanne.
That is correct, yes.
And where was that? Where was that, Anne?
That was in Portiuncula Hospital in Ballinasloe, which was run by the Franciscan sisters.
Will you tell me about it and how it came about?
Well, babies were usually sent down to the church to be christened without their mother, because their mother stayed in hospital for maybe 7 days, 6-7 days at that time. And I wouldn't let my baby down to be baptised unless I was there.
Fair play, yeah.
So one of the sisters, which they had, they were able to take you to the church. There was a church in the hospital. So she took me over to the church and performed the prayers and blessings and all that. And so I was able to go with my child to the christening the following weekend.
I didn't realise. So one of the sisters was able to do the churching then?
Yes, a lay person could do it, I gather.
I didn't realise that.
A lay sister, yeah. Well, she did anyway.
Did you resent it at the time, Anne?
Well, I thought, why was I being churched? I know it was nice to have a blessing, but why was I being churched? Because some saw churching as a washing away of the sin of childbirth. It left some women feeling alienated by the church. So that finished in the 20th century. But I did feel, why am I regarded as being unclean, in other words?
Now, the benign version of it is that you were being blessed because, you know, you had a healthy baby and you came through the pregnancy okay and the labour okay, and that it was that kind of a blessing, a giving thanks, I suppose. But others see it as, that you know, it had something to do with the mother being deemed to be unclean in some way.
Unclean, yes, after having sexual relations and having a baby and all that. And I couldn't understand why the man couldn't be blessed as well. And
the husbands were never churched.
As unclean. Yes, no. Why was he not regarded as being unclean?
Well, you answer your own question. Why do you think that was the case then? Why do you think that?
Well, I can't answer that question. But I was reading up on it one time, and Pope Gregory protested against any notion, I have it written here, that defilement was incurred by childbirth, and recommended that women should never have been separated from the church. You couldn't actually go into the church, you see. You were met in the porch of the church, because some church records have, some very early church records have the churching also written down in their book.
Right, but you were deemed to be so unclean that you couldn't even be on the premises, so to speak.
You could go into the porch, but no further than the porch of the church.
And this is after Vatican II. We're talking about 1967 here.
Yeah, Vatican II was
Was 62, yeah.
Yeah, but he was the only one now. There's our oldest child. I had 5 more after that. And he was the only one that I was churched with. It was finished after that.
Was it part of how women were, and some might argue still are, treated badly by the church? Was it?
Well, it was a male-dominated church, as you are aware of.
Yeah.
So now I do. Oh yeah, I said that about Pope Gregory.
Yeah.
Yes, he didn't.
And can I ask you, are you still a church goer? No, you don't.
Yes, I do go to my church. Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yes, but I just could never understand. The blessing. Yes, it was nice to have a blessing,
yeah,
but the fact that they actually, at one time, they couldn't go into the church for 40 days after. Now, some religions still practice churching.
Yes. Yeah. Or elements of that.
Judaism, yeah. I think it came from Judaism at the beginning.
Yeah, and again, it's all about viewing the woman as being unclean in some way. And I know there's certain reference in some religions to the menstrual cycle as well, for example.
That's correct. Yes. 40 days, was the usual that you went to be churched after the 40 days. Now, that was in the older times.
Yes. But the rest of your children, there was no question of being churched, was there?
No.
Right.
That was finished then, because it was after Vatican II.
Yeah. And when you look back at it now, are you cross about it, Anne? Are you still?
Well, I can't afford to be cross about it. But I still wonder why men weren't blessed and why they weren't considered unclean.
Yeah, it was always the woman.
It was always the woman.
Yeah, it's interesting. And how do you feel about women priests and the like?
Well, I do feel that women should be ordained as priests.
You don't feel?
I do.
Oh, you do feel? I beg your pardon. Yes. Yeah.
They do a lot of work in the church.
That's for
Some
sure.
women do a lot of work in the church.
Yeah.
But they can never be ordained.
Yeah, they're doing all the background work. Most of the background work, women do, I know. Yeah.
They do, yes. They certainly do. The majority. Now, there are some men as well, but the women do the majority of help in the church.
But not recognised, you think, Anne? No.
No, not recognised.
Yeah.
So that's my feeling on it now.
Yeah, and the new Pope, Pope Leo, what are your thoughts about him so far?
Well, I don't know what he's going to change. We'll have to wait and see.
Right, but you're not too hopeful of change, I gather, are you?
Well, you see, it's up to the cardinals, and I know the Pope doesn't have all the say, as far as I'm aware. So
yeah, the Curia is very influential, of course, there, and it's interesting. Well, it's an amazing story, Anne, and thank you so much indeed for calling. You certainly added to the conversation, because I thought it had to be a priest who would do the churching.
No. It wasn't. Well, one of the nuns took it on themselves anyway and blessed me and said prayers. We said prayers.
Right. Well, can you imagine if you missed out on the christening because of that?
Well, you see, a lot of people did. I stood for one of my aunt's children, and we went to the christening, but she was in the hospital. That was in Wexford.
Yeah,
so she didn't get to come to the christening.
She didn't get to go. Of course, another thing that you brought up there that's kind of interesting is that, the mother did spend quite a while, maybe more than a week in hospital. Nowadays, mothers are expected to be out and running around the place in a couple of days.
they are. Yeah, they are.
Is that a good thing? Do you think? Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're well able for it, and it's good for them. Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, if they're able.
Lovely to talk to you, Anne.
And a cesarean section or something. I was a midwife, you see, and I
remember. Oh, were you?
The
right.
baby's being taken down to the church to be baptised.
Right.
You know, after 2 or 3 days.
Very good. And are you retired from
I'm
midwifery?
Long retired. No. Yeah, long retired.
Well, it was lovely to talk to you, Anne, and thanks for coming on with us today. Thank you, and good morning to you, Anne.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Gina. Bye-bye. That's Anne speaking to us there. Let's go to Lorraine McGrath. Good morning to Lorraine.
Good morning, Fran. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. You remember your grandmother telling you about being church, I think, Lorraine.
I do. I remember it very well. Well, my mother really would have told us more about it than my granny, but it seemed to be a very strong custom in Cork. So on 2 different children, they seemed to be both born around Christmas time. And the first one, she didn't make the baptism at all because she wasn't churched. And from our perspectives down here, it seemed to be that she was unclean, that she couldn't attend the ceremony. It kind of seemed to go as far as that nobody could even come into the home. Like, wow. It was almost like a mortal sin on your soul. Now, maybe that's just kind of a local thing.
A local version of it in some way, yeah. Yeah, so even though somebody else is saying to me that, they thought you couldn't even leave the home for 40 days or something like that, yeah.
There seemed to be a big thing about coming into the home, almost that home was kind of maybe covered in sin, or there was sin in the home, or this person wasn't clean. And then there was another child born at Christmas, and I suppose she probably learned from the previous child.
Yeah.
So it was very close to Christmas, and like that, in her local parish, she couldn't kind of access a priest maybe because maybe there was lots of ceremonies going on around Christmas. So she lived in Douglas, which would be a kind of a suburb of Cork.
Yeah.
And my mother said they lived on a terrace, and she had to run the terrace and get onto a bus. And she was very, very strong that, like, you couldn't talk to anybody now because you couldn't be drawing anybody on you. Now, the locals would know, Jesus, she wasn't church, so they wouldn't talk to her anyway. But she'd get on the church and get into town in Cork City and then cross Cork City. And my mother said she had to go to the side altar after Mass when nobody else was in the church. And then a priest would church her. And then she'd be clean again and she could attend the baby's baptism.
But Lorraine, go back there for a moment. Her neighbours wouldn't talk to her. Is that what you said to me?
It seems to be a kind of locally they know, she's not churched yet. Like,
wow.
You know, she shouldn't be out kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Now, she would be 100 if she'd be over 100, and my mother would be she'd be approaching on 80. So this is, like, I'm talking about probably 1950, 1960.
Yeah.
And then my mother had a child in 1975, and she said, no, all that was gone.
It was gone at that point, yeah. And, you were a young woman. When you look back at that, Lorraine, what strikes you about it?
I can't kind of fathom it that it was just the women were kind of not punished, but like there seemed to be a service only on women. Like if there was mortal sin, wouldn't it be on both sides? That's what I'd say.
Well, they were the ones that were viewed to be unclean, but as you say, the husband, there was nothing about the husband or the partner,
Nothing about the husband, but now I did see comments on Facebook. There was a lady putting up comments saying, oh, no, this was for Thanksgiving, for a safe arrival of the baby. But I do know for a positive fact my granny had 2 not fully formed children, I suppose. Probably like miscarriages, but they were fully formed babies. And I know she was churched after those. So I'm not too sure. It could have been Thanksgiving for a proper living baby or anything, because it seemed to happen for a birth as opposed to...
Yeah, I was saying that to Anne, that one version of it is that it was, as you put it beautifully, a Thanksgiving for the arrival of the baby, and, that the labour went well and the pregnancy went well. But the other aspect of it, and you mentioned it a few times there, I find it very hard to even talk about it, unclean, the notion of being unclean in some way.
Yeah, my mother I remember her always saying, it was a mortal sin on your soul. and you'd have to go and get it cleansed. Now, my mother never believed any of this. She was very forward-thinking, and she never she didn't put out too much with the Catholic Church. Like, my father would have been more a Catholic, and my grandmother was a huge Catholic, very, very strong faith, and she would go along with it. But, it's a hard one to comprehend now. Like, my own children were baptised maybe 15 and 7 years ago, and I remember in the ceremony there was a blessing of the mother.
Yes.
And it was actually beautiful. You stood in front of Mary's altar, and, the blessings were put on the mother. And it was a lovely ceremony. Yeah. So maybe we have moved on positively from it, But now, my other grandmother was from Dublin, and it didn't seem to be as much of a sting up there.
Yes.
And they would have both my mother and my father would have been born within 2 years of each other, and my father actually would have been older, and he was from Dublin.
So there was kind of localized versions of this in some way.
I'm beginning to guess, because I would have spent an awful lot of time with my Dublin grandmother as well, like, as in a huge amount of time, and she would have lived up until 10 years ago.
Yes.
So as in, she was very open, like, but she didn't kind of seem to have the same feelings on it. And even now, locally here in our own parish, I live in East Cork in Cork, there's a baptismal kind of a group of people that go around and they do the baptism. They prepare the family for baptism for the priest, because obviously there's less priests now, they're very busy. So they go out and they prepare it. And only just on Saturday I was speaking to that group, and I brought up churching because it had been obviously on my mind, and the other lady, who was probably 45 or 50, she had no idea of it. But the lady who was in her 50s, she was like, oh yeah, I remember my mother talking about that. So it seemed to be a big thing in Cork.
And in the course of your conversation with me, you mentioned, I think, that your granny said that it was deemed to be mortal sin. What aspect of it was a mortal sin, though? Was it the sex?
I think so. I presume so. Like, as in, my mother had gone to a convent, and she said, like, her sexual education was, because I remember her telling it to us, she had 4 daughters, imagine, and she said that the convent in Cork, they were told if you sat on top of a boy's knee, you'd be pregnant. That was the sex education, and she said they were terrified.
I remember somebody telling me one time that, again, advice from a nun was that if you were forced to sit on somebody's knee, you had to put a newspaper underneath you to protect you in some sort of fashion.
Push up some newspaper sales. But it was a different time. And you know what? I don't think we should run away from it. It probably did happen. Do you know what I mean? As in, there's an awful lot of women that are very strong about what happened back then. And I think we should probably learn from it, but not run away from it.
Yeah, even though I remember years ago I was working on radio up in the Midlands, and we did a documentary, and it was heartbreaking. It took me ages to recover from it, because we brought a couple back to a graveyard for unbaptised children. And their story was just unbelievable. The child died before being baptised, and it had to be buried in unconsecrated ground. And there was only
outside the wall. Yeah,
there was this little stone that just showed where the child was. But the father had to go and dig the grave at 12 o'clock at night on his own and bury the child. And it was just heartbreaking, heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. And I do think that I've seen different priests kind of have different levels of compassion. Do you know what I mean? Where they're kind of, not that they're willing to break the rules, but that they interpret them slightly differently. Do you know what I mean? So that there can be more heart in things. But my interaction with the Catholic Church and priests, they're all really trying a really hard, good job down here in East Cork. And they are under pressure.
Yeah, that's
because there's less of them, and they are kind of having to hand out jobs to the lay people, and they have deacons now and that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't I wouldn't have anything negative to say about them, like, let me put it that way.
Well,
But
absolutely. I mean, we're talking about
definitely.
historical stuff that went on in the church, and some of the finest people I know are priests and doing just amazing work. Mary was on to us, funnily enough, Lorraine, and she said she was last churched in 1973, so it did go on to some degree into the early 70s, I understand. So interesting.
I'd say my mother just missed it. It was 1975. She had a child, and she was in Dublin. So I wonder,
okay.
was it less?
Was it different?
As in, Cork is a smaller kind of community, I suppose, maybe, and I would say maybe the priests kind of would have known, they're smaller communities, so they would have known the women, so maybe they were like, oh, she'll probably be up to be churched on Saturday night or whatever, do you know what I mean? Whereas maybe it's easier to kind of hide in a bigger...
It's absolutely, the whole story is just fascinating. Lorraine, a real pleasure, and it was your first time, I think, on with us. Delighted to talk to you, Lorraine. Thanks for coming on with me.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye to you now. It's Lorraine McGrath speaking to us there. 1800 938 007.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Welcome back to Tipp Today. It's time for our Wellbeing slot, and joined as usual by Muriel Cuddy. Good morning to you, Muriel.
Morning, Fran.
Good to see you today. You see, I like what you're going to do today. You're going to speak about small, manageable changes to improve our health.
Yes.
Small little changes.
And it's funny because you're not going to like, first of all, because I'm going to tell you, I suppose, what these do. So this kind of frightens people a little bit.
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean?
Go on,
We're full of beans today, aren't we?
Yeah, something like that anyway.
Yeah. It's Thursday, though, and it's given sun for the weekend, so that's literally, the whole country's talking about it. It's given sun for 3 days. Jesus, if the sun doesn't come, we're all done. Anyway, back to this, right? So, first of all, I suppose, regular modest exercise, there's so many benefits, and I think people don't actually realise that, and that's absolutely huge for me, as in simple things like if you only increased your step count by 500 steps a day, it's associated with a 2 to 9% decreased risk of cardiovascular morbidity. So that's mortality. So that's huge, right? Other ones 5 to 6 minutes of brisk intensity walking per day equates to another 4 years of greater life expectancy. These are simple things, right? So physical activity for me is the start, right? And this is how many different benefits it has, right? And I'm going to say them slowly because people listen to this, and I want you to listen to all the different things that physical activity will actually do in your world, right?
Yes.
So the metabolic benefits, it improves your glycemic control, right? It increases your insulin sensitivity. So pre-diabetic, and I have so many of those people coming in. It supports weight management. It improves your lipid profile. So that's your cholesterol, okay? The cardiovascular and longevity benefits. It lowers your blood pressure. It reduces your cardiovascular risk. It improves vascular function. It increases your life expectancy, right? Musculoskeletal and your functional benefits. It strengthens muscle and bone. It reduces fragility and falls. It improves pain and mobility. It improves physical independence, which is huge. The psychological and cognitive benefits. It reduces depression and anxiety. It improves sleep. It increases confidence. It supports cognitive and dementia prevention, right? So they're all the things, right, that every single one of us want, don't we? And we will take any pill under the sun. If somebody said, I can give you a tablet that's going to help improve all of those, you'd be like, give it to me straight away. So on the other side then, why do people struggle? So what are the barriers? So what stops us from literally going out for that walk or whatever? On the physical side, fatigue and lack of energy. So knackered out, right? Pain, any kind of pain. And 70% of people use mild pain as an excuse not to exercise. And the mild pain can be increased or can subside with exercise. Fear of injury, recent injury, or any of the comorbidities, like, say, cardiovascular, arthritis, things like that. Psychological, lack of motivation, low confidence, that's actually a huge one. Some people are very embarrassed even to go out for a walk in case somebody looks at them. Non-enjoyment or boredom, just hate it. Previous negative experiences, and some people have so many previous negative experiences. The practical side, insufficient time. I get that from so many, especially like men driving lorries and farmers and that. Inconvenience, work and caregiving pressures, hours, cost of facilities if you were to go and join a programme, completing all your daily priorities that are competing with your exercise. The social side, lack of encouragement or support. So it's not in the family, if it's not in the house, well, yeah. No exercise companion or accountability, limited involvement of friends and family. That's the social side. And then on the last one, the environmental and the system barriers, unsafe neighbourhoods or fear of environment. And I think that's a big deal even in Clonmel lately. People that would have walked around the town late at night and went out for their walk later on.
Well, in all of the towns we've been hearing stories like that. Do you know what I'm delighted you brought up there was boredom. And that's one of the things, one of the many reasons why I find it difficult to take part in this. I'm bored out of my tree if I'm walking.
Yeah, but you see, you possibly found the wrong exercise. And you know, it's funny because one of the things when I was thinking of this is, do you know the difference between physical activity and exercise?
No.
So physical activity is any movement.
Okay. So
anything you do every day, right? Exercise is different. It's specific, planned, structured. And it's there with an ambition to actually increase a goal of some sort. So what I have said here in relation to this, if we want to reduce all of these, exercise kind of has to come into play, but physical activity is different, as in physical activity is things we do every day. So simple things like, and these are the easiest ways. So say if you're bored, you know, you're sitting here, say from 9 o'clock until 12, so you haven't moved at all.
No.
So movement is massive. So like we can break up. You can break up sitting by just standing. Do you know what I mean? Like simple things, even like, and I know this sounds stupid, but even like 10 bunny hops is increasing your bone density. Simple things. Remember I said before, like calf raises underneath the desk actually increases oxygen to the heart because it's the biggest muscle in the body. Simple things, if you were to just stretch. So if you were just to move out of your seat, if you're sitting all day long, if you can move at all, that you actually get up, walk up and down the corridor and come back in and sit down again, that's enough. That's physical activity.
Yeah, but you see, the advice is, you must do your 10,000 steps and you must exercise for a half an hour every day for 6 days of the week or something like that. And that's what puts people off if they're beginning.
Yeah,
you know?
But you see, that's the thing. And you know, one of the things I say all the time, and this is like, small wins builds momentum.
Yes.
But even before the small wins, any professional that's in a world like me, and any clinician, any GP, so if you're talking to somebody, say you're going to a gym, you want to program, whatever, confidence matters more than ambition. And one of the biggest things is, above any expertise, so no matter what expertise anybody has, if you listen to somebody, so if you can actually empathise with what you're telling me, as in, I'm bored, don't like doing it, this kind of thing, and I can be curious enough and have the time to actually listen to you and say, right, okay, if you are, what can we do to actually change that? So what do you like to do? What is within your world or within your remit of maybe the 10-minute increments or whatever? And I suppose in your head, how important do you think the exercise is in relation to your health markers? Because as we get older, that's a huge thing. Do you know what I mean?
So understanding it is important.
Understanding it and building into your world or your lifestyle, like what can you actually do that you love doing? So if it's even like, if you love music, if it's even putting on music and you're literally moving around the room to music or whatever somebody can actually realistically do that they can do long term. So the minute they start doing it, they start feeling better. It's the best antidepressant going, Fran, any form of exercise.
What is this readiness scale? Well, what does that mean?
So that's, I suppose, you'll understand this one, because the readiness scale is literally like from 1 to 3, I'm not ready.
Okay.
They're the numbers, right? So from 4 to 6, I'm thinking about it. And then from 7 to 10, I'm ready.
Is there anything below 1?
No. If he was close enough to me, I'd slap him.
So tell me that. So 1 to 3.
1 to 3, you're not ready.
Not ready, okay.
4 to 6, you're thinking about it.
Okay.
And then 7 to 10, you're ready.
Okay.
Right? Now, there is a trans-theoretical model of behaviour. This is going back to like 1983, the early 1980s, right? And I suppose people relapse all the time. And the minute they relapse, we are creatures of habit. And then we feel the confidence goes again.
Yeah.
We feel like we're useless again. The guilt is there, like, well, yeah, I'm useless, I just can't do it, this kind of thing. It starts with, again, the readiness scale is like pre-contemplation, no intention of changing your behaviour, right? And then the contemplation comes in. You're aware a problem exists, but no commitment to action. So you can see where you are on the scale, right? Preparation, you intend on taking action to address the problem.
Yes.
Then the action piece, active modification of behaviour. The maintenance, sustained change. So this is new behaviours replace old. This is the bit I talk about all the time. So when I can actually get into somebody's head, that I can get them prepared to take action. We've done the first two, pre-contemplation, contemplation. They understand the problem exists. So they understand they are pre-diabetic, they're diabetic, the cardiovascular piece is there, the blood pressure is there, the cholesterol is there, or they're knackered out completely, or they are very depressed. That's the piece of, I know I have a problem. Okay, I need to take action. Do I need to see a professional? If you're going to see a professional, it has to be the right professional that is ready to listen, not to talk to you. They have to listen. So one size doesn't fit all. If come in, I have a programme here and I'm going to throw you in with 10 other people. That doesn't work. So if they listen to you, then you might be able to take the action, right? When you do, can you do it for long enough that you establish new habits? Right? And that can be 10 minutes a day, whatever it is. Yeah. But the new habit becomes the same as drinking your coffee, the same as having your breakfast in the morning. I have to do my walk. It's the same as, like, we won't forget our cholesterol tablet in the morning. Yeah. We won't forget a blood pressure tablet in the morning. But we will forget to walk in the morning.
That's a very good point.
And a walk is just as important, if not more important, because your blood pressure tablets are going to stay increasing. Your cholesterol, you're diabetic, they will all stay increasing if you don't do the other side. So can I do the 10-minute walk? And if I can, am I building new habits? And somebody will do that, then they'll go in holidays, and then the relapse comes. They fall back into the old patterns of behaviour. They come back after a week or 2 weeks, and they're back to the very start again. Oh my God, I'm useless, I'm whatever it is. But that's okay. Like this, there's a model of behaviour here that's there, and that's for every single one of us. So what do? We go back to the start, and off we go again.
It's interesting when you break it down like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it makes sense as in, you're not on your own. Like, I just left a voicemail for one of my patients before I came in, and she said to me, Muriel, I'm just back from holidays with the girls. I was absolutely flying before I went. My heartburn was gone. All the energy, felt so good, everything. Getting up on the plane, she said I was a different woman. Really enjoyed the holiday. Back 3 days, and she said, what is wrong with me? She said, I sat down last night and I ate all around me. And this is day 3. Why can I not bring myself back to where I was beforehand? So that's literally, the relapse is there. So she has to go back again to the beginning, and off we go again. And I spoke to her and I said, the biggest thing that happens is when we come back from holidays, you've eaten all around you, you possibly haven't walked, etc. So when you come home, your body wants to continue the same patterns. It's used to the wrong food, so it's used to more sugar, so it's getting the quick fix. So your brain says, it's a quick fix, that's great. It's giving her loads of energy really quickly, but it goes really quickly. So the brain is like, give me more of that, send me back for more biscuits, etc. So what you have to do is not restrict, you actually eat more. So on that first week, you actually decide, my breakfast is going to be whatever, say it's Weetabix, whatever it is, but instead of having 2, I'm going to have 4.
Yeah, but eat more proper food.
Proper food, but if you eat the good food and you choose wisely as you're going through the day, then that actually stops the sugar cravings. But to know that the relapse can happen and not to beat yourself up about it, because guilt is only an emotion, the same as happy is only an emotion. We want to be well, we want to be healthy. And peace comes from action, doesn't it?
And if somebody gets it together and they do, even if it is a small amount of exercise, do you see that reflecting itself in the health markers pretty much straight away?
Oh my God, within 6 weeks. Like, I had a man in yesterday and he was 79. He's just on the programme. His wife came with him. So I often say to men, if you have a woman behind the scenes, bring her with you. So if it's the food or whatever, at least you've two listening or whatever. Within 6 weeks, every single thing has changed in his world. He couldn't get out of bed in the morning. When he was getting out of bed, the pains and aches were serious. His hands were really stiff, right? He could feel his system breaking down himself. Visceral fat level was very, very high. I put him on the programme, told him what he needed to do. He was already, now this is one of the things, he was already farming, so he was already doing loads of steps every day. What you're doing every day, it'll count a little, but it doesn't account in the long term. So you've got to do a little bit extra if you can, because your body is used to that.
Yes. So
the extra is the bit that counts, right? So he had said, I'm tired in the evening time. So I said, that's fine. Listen, have your dinner, etc. Do then just 10 minutes after dinner, but do it every single day, that it's sustainable, that it becomes a habit. That's all I want. So he's doing that. His visceral fat dropped by 2 levels. He was down, I think, 8 or 9 pounds. He said to me, the difference, he said, he sat back first of all and he was like, now I want to tell you. And he was so happy being able to tell me, and she was smiling at him. If you saw the difference, they had thought they couldn't give up sausages and rashers. They thought bacon, like, that was definitely, that's once a week, bacon and cabbage. For Jesus, that's going back to my mother's time, this kind of thing, right? But he said, I did everything you asked me, Muriel. And I said, can you sustain it now, or is it a chore? Because these things, we can bring it back in again, but like it's the 80-20. And he said, no, I don't miss him. He actually said to me, he'll be smiling if he's listening now. Actually, I think I made him too old. He was only 72, he'll kill me. But anyway, yeah, he said he used to come home from town with pavlova, and he would eat half the pavlova himself.
Yeah, I can
you can relate.
Understand that, yeah.
But he said now there isn't even a grow for the pavlova. If I was to do his bloods, I won't for like 12 to 20 weeks or whatever. I know every single marker has reduced literally or pulled itself back into line.
It's great. Is that preferable that you would do your bit of exercise after your dinner.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
So if you were in the Mediterranean world, if you were in Italy or whatever, you'll actually see they get up after their dinner. They go for a 10-minute stroll and then they'll come back and have their dessert. So they'll come back and have a coffee and whatever sweet piece they want or the dessert piece. But you're moving everything through your system. The glycemic side, you're actually pushing sugar out of the cell. You're getting your digestive system to switch on so that the blood flow is actually going there. It's not like a walk, as in you're not power walking and giving yourself a stitch. You are literally just moving or strolling, that you actually let your system move everything through as it needs to.
It's very good advice indeed. One of our listeners is wondering, what does Muriel think of stress and anxiety where blood pressure is concerned when you don't have that much weight on? It's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, you see, it's interesting as in 9 out of 10 people in the world we're in today are stressed, right? We have so many things, and we were talking about this the other day. Do you remember the older days, right? If your mother wanted you, the minute you left home, she wasn't going to get you. If you wanted to get your mother, you couldn't get her from when you left home. If you went on holidays, you couldn't ring home 10 times and say, I lost my phone, or, you know, the hotel is rubbish, or you couldn't put every single thing on her. Like, kids go to school today, literally every single minute of every day, they're on and they can contact us. We're on and we can contact them. So I feel everybody is on all the time, overstressing and over-worrying and overthinking about a million different things. Stress and anxiety are possibly the number one cause of blood pressure if it's not genetic. So if you are stressed, you have to work out in your head, is it something like an inconvenient stress or is it a trauma stress? So working today, all the different things that come with it, all the different things that are in our world today, how many things, everyone has those inconvenient stresses. How many of those stresses do we actually need to worry about? But if it's a trauma stress, that's different. You have to nearly get help with that one, that maybe you might need some form of something to bring you down a little bit. If you're not sleeping at night, you might need something. If you might need help, can you actually get the parameters around it, that somebody can come in and help you a little? But if it's the inconvenient stress, Fran, which all of us have every single day, and we all build up into these huge big problems and these huge big issues, and it's causing the blood pressure issues behind the scenes, we all need a good kick in the backside. We need to pull back and say, live in the here and now. Remember I said a minute ago, action brings peace.
And are you seeing this all of the time in the clinic?
One of the first questions I ask as part of, and I would never have done that 10 years ago, but one of my first questions is, are you stressed? Do you stress? Have you an anxious personality? And that feeds back into the exercise. Who doesn't feel better? Maybe you, but who doesn't feel better after a walk?
Maybe you. That is a scurrilous thing to say. It's
but do you
true,
know what I mean? But like, even if you put the runners on, like I was saying to you, like, I have an exam this evening, right?
Yes.
And I had a pain in my head this morning when I woke up, and I don't normally have a pain in my head, but I went into the gym anyway, right? I didn't even know why I was in there, because I have so many other things I should be doing. It's built in now, and even on the 7 or 8 weight, I could feel my head thumping. But I knew if I went in, I would come out in a better headspace. So my weight's dropped back down to nothing, literally. What I did in there today didn't do anything for me physically, but it did mentally. So it's my place. A walk wouldn't have done the same thing for me. So I literally, for anyone, if you're not exercising, you've got to just start. If it's only around the house, if it's only up and down the lane, start doing it and keep doing it until eventually the habit becomes the norm, and eventually you want to do a little bit more.
It's very good advice indeed. If people want to talk to you, how can they do that?
Yes, so the number is 062 88 002.
All right, great to see you as always, and best of luck with the exam as well.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Muriel. Back in a second.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1800 938 007.
Now, in the course of my conversation there with Lorraine, I mentioned a documentary I was involved in about, it's more than 20 years ago now, about unbaptised babies being buried in unconsecrated ground. We've got a huge reaction to that. So look, it's something we will get back to, because a lot of people sharing experiences about that with us this morning as well. Inventive Ballynahinch beef farmer Brendan Kennedy, with a knack for using artificial intelligence, is hoping his new website and app will paint a more authentic picture of beef prices nationwide. And he joins me now. Brendan, good morning to you.
Morning, friend. How are you?
I'm well, and fair play to you where this is concerned. Tell me about this new website and app and what exactly it does.
It just gets the factory base quotes. The cattle and sheep are updated every day, and the quotes are automatically updated to the farmer. But then I'm hoping to have a crowdsourced factory price. So I don't know what my neighbour gets. Even I was talking to a lad this morning, and he said his uncle gets a different price to him. But if they're putting their price into this app, they'll know exactly what the price in the country is, not what their neighbour is getting, but they'll know the factory price for that factory. And then it brings more transparency to the beef market. Like if it's $6.66 for me, it's $6.66 for you, Fran, it's $6.66 for everybody. And then, there's nothing wrong with it just being absolute transparency. Like I know farmers love to complain about each other and the factories and Jerry Goodman and but they can't. This will bring absolute transparency. It'll suit the farmers down to the ground, and it'll suit the factories down to the ground.
And just help me to fully where are you getting your data from?
I'm putting all my data off Wellbeing and Chagas and AgriLand and Farmers Journal. It's all, everything I'm putting off is there on the internet, but I'm putting it all into one page. Except what's different about me is the crowdsourced farm price, the factory price. If the farmers enter their price, it's anonymously. There's no, I won't know who they are.
Yeah.
They just put in the cattle that got killed, number, obviously, the weight of all the cattle and the price of all, the final check, and then the app calculates the price per kilo, and that's put up into the database and then it's anonymous, like, but you're getting hopefully we get enough farmers doing it, you're getting an honest factory price, and there's no ambiguity about it, like.
Right, and potentially will farmers make more money because of this?
Well, potentially it'll give farmers, they'll have a hammer more so than it could potentially make, but they'll have a hammer to say, hold on now a second, you said you're paying $6.66, we're looking at the data here, it was $6.43 for that week, or do you know what I mean? We'll have the data. If I have enough farmers, I will have the data, and it's for every. I haven't done for every factory, like I've done for. At the minute, it's done for ABP, and that's ABP all over Ireland. But
yes.
I can probably going forward maybe break it down. I don't know, but I'll see how we get on. But
right, But the factories, you think the factories will buy into this, Brendan, in some way?
I hope they do. Like,
yeah,
they should. I approached. I deal with ABP and I've gone great with them. I've great time from it, and I hope they do. I really genuinely hope they do. And it takes away, the bad feeling that's there. You know what I mean? When the protests come, it'll be a lot more transparent. Like, and I have an app in it as well. Say if I killed it or you killed a bullock in the morning and he got. So hey, you got €2,300 say for that bullock, and it'll tell you what the shelf price that bullock is. So when he's finally sold to all the customers, that's going on the average price in Duns or Aldi or Lidl or beef prices, and it's only about €1,100 in difference, whereas people are saying it's thousands. So you buy a steak for €35. That's only 10% of a bullock, like, so
It's very interesting indeed. You must be very handy with this AI stuff, because I know you've created a number of apps, I think.
I have, but the first one I did was for me, to my farm account. I didn't actually use it. But I did a hint and did a couple more, and then I was always into, well, I'm farming, so I was always into, it buggered me. I'd be talking to him, and he would say the kill was down this week, and I'd never look for the kill numbers.
Yeah.
And but now it's there in the one spot in front of me, and I can see the kill numbers are down, and I don't have to go looking. And I started this kind of after Christmas, and it kind of snowballed. Like, I said to myself, like, the AI is coming. Why run away from it?
Absolutely, yeah. And are the farmers buying into this as well? I mean, how popular is the app so far, Brendan?
Well, there's 4,700 people have looked at the app, but then it's worldwide. That's the issue. There's 800 farmers in Ireland, and most of them are coming back in a week. I asked last Thursday, this day last week.
Yes.
There's 800 farmers in Ireland on it, and a lot of them are coming back because there's 2,500 worldwide, but there's over 5,000 visits to the site, and they're mostly the Irish fellas coming back. So they are coming back. And I'm adding stuff to as well. Like, there's a calculator for if you bought how much to rear a calf. You bought a calf, what beef price has to be for you to make money to make your money, and include your wages and all that.
And if I was involved in selling agri services or agri stuff, I'd want to be in on this as well, because it's an ideal platform to get directly to farmers eventually, I would imagine.
Well, all the prices for all the commodities are there. The grain, the silage, they're all there. I have links to them all. I didn't leave anybody out. So you can go in there, you can look and say what's the price of diesel. You can look up, see who's selling the cheapest green diesel. You can buy it off them. So all
of that is there as well.
All of that is there.
Right.
There's an awful lot there, and maybe just too much. I don't know, but there's a lot there. Like last night, I had sheep and beef on the first page. I took sheep and put it into their own section, just because it was too busy. The page was too busy.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by. If people want to access it and get involved, how can they do that? What's the easiest way to do that, Brendan?
Just Ireland-Palestine.com. Search that, and then you'll open the page and just save the page to your phone or your laptop. It's actually, it's very good on the laptop or the laptop I use more. The phone is grand around, but if you want to do something and look at stuff,
of course,
you probably need the laptop because it's my numbers are getting younger. Like I need the glasses. I mightn't have the glasses when I have the phone out in the field.
I know the feeling on that, but I mean this is ideal because farmers are going to be doing their accounts on laptops and desktops anyway, so you can access it that way. So it's Ireland Cattle Price. Is that it? .com?
IrelandCattlePrice.com. Yeah.
Very good. Are you going to be a millionaire out of this, Brendan?
God no, friend. No, it is free. I'm not charging for this. And
yes.
I know I put time and money into it. Maybe if it gets traction, I'm working 40 hours a week. Maybe it'll reduce my work need or something. But I don't know. Right? I can't tell you. I don't know because it's a slow burner. But hopefully it'll get snowball. It's good. Like farmers are bringing me back, and then I think it's good from all over the country. Even up in Donegal, and I'm getting messages saying this is good. Like this is what we need.
Well, isn't that fantastic? Have you other ideas for using AI with farming?
I started this a couple of weeks ago, and this has taken me over now in the last week because I really got into it, and I have updated it about 16 times. I had 10 updates alone yesterday.
Wow.
Stuff I think of during the day, I say it to the phone or I write it down, and I go home at night then and I just put them all in, and it updates them. And it's like the thing about getting a bullock killed and rearing calves, and I've done for bucket versus automatic feeder calves, suckler calves. And people tell me stuff about the sheep. Behind the sheep, I've Northern Ireland beef prices in it. I've world beef prices, and then I research stories. I put in a story relevant to Irish farmers. There's stories on it, and you can sign up to an email where you get the factory prices every week, probably on a Monday morning. I'll email or Sunday night. I'll email the prices from the previous week and the kill and all that. If you want to just sign up to it like this, well, it's good for them. It's a win-win for the farmers, and I think it's a win-win for the factories too.
I think it's fantastic and fair play to you and great innovation there for sure. So just once again, IrelandCattlePrice.com, is that right?
That's right, Fran. That's it. Perfect. Right. IrelandCattlePrice.com, and it's free, Fran, too. So
well, Brendan, we'll continue to follow your story because I think this is going to be huge. And well done to you, and thanks very much for coming on with us, Brendan.
Thanks for having me.
Look after yourself. Bye-bye to you now. Bye-bye. That's Brendan Kennedy there of Ballynahinch with that novel idea. I'm sure you'll agree. IrelandCattlePrice.com if you want to get involved in that. That's it for me. Leanne produced. Stephen's on the way with the Time Tunnel on the Lunchtime Show, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Look after yourselves now, won't you? Bye-bye.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.